Oh, okay. I'm here, I think. I'm here. I'm working. Great. Whoa, 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 whoa. What the heck? It was loud. Okay, wait a second. I'm still not ready. I'm still not finished. Wait a second. It's only some sweets, okay? I'm not eating a full-on meal here. I just need that sugar. And do you stinky? Hmm. Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry. So last time I was getting sidetracked again for some reason. For real. Now, yeah, I was just like, oops. Oh, it's too loud? Okay. I was actually ending a little bit earlier than I thought. I was like, okay, I have half an hour left. But then, I got sidetracked, so I saw like one random streamer on my For You page because I was ending the stream, then I ended up like at my For You page, and immediately I was getting like, oh, look at that video. I have to watch it and say hello and things like that. It's terrible. It's really terrible. But hello everyone. I hope you are all having a great day. If not, I hope it's getting so much better soon. Sorry, I cannot talk anymore. Today we are going to watch some Sekiro lore. Did you ever play Sekiro? Did you ever saw Sekiro in your life? Not the person, the game. I'm so sorry. Let me prepare a couple of things, okay? I'm not even early. I'm literally like stuck. Okay, so I'm a streamer who talks, okay? Trust me. I'm just eating right now. It's the last thing. Then I'm going to stop 100%. There's no physical way I can eat anymore. I'm a scary, very skinny person. I can allow me that. Everything seems to work. Let me prepare the next scene. Yeah. Oh, I don't need a tablet. Okay, I hope this should work. This works great. Wait, does it actually play? It's crazy. Okay, that is crazy. I was not expecting that. I can just use window capture. It is so good. Of course, what I was expecting, but still. Oh, and I can just use the game capture too. Oh, holy guacamoles. Okay. I re-prepared literally the next scene. It's crazy. That was easy. Okay, did you guys ever saw like Sekiro? Did you ever saw it in your life? It's so great. It's so we finished it like last week, I think. It took us like 8 hours to defeat like Ishin. It was so bad. But I realized I saw like one video about how was it called? I think it was about secrets in yeah, like 10 Japanese secrets in Sekiro. I even see the video right now. And I realized like, wow, it's always with From Software games, it's like the same thing. They're like filled with lore, and I think I love the lore. I love the lore that they're writing. So I really want to understand it a little bit more. We have like a lot to watch. A lot. We have like 2 hours of content to watch, I think. Oh my holy bananas, I got jump scared. Whoa. Whoa, that was loud. I just played like a playlist. We have like 2 playlists. And they are like, probably 2 hours or 3 hours if we are a little bit too slow, like right now. But yeah, let's move the scenes, okay? Let's move the scenes. No, I want to show. Okay, let's move the scenes. Spending too much time doing nothing. Oh, I want to get his name, of course. No, I want to get this entire channel. This is like the Souls lore channel, to be honest. This is such a good thing. It's so good. So I really recommend just checking him out. I'm going to copy and paste it and pin it in every singular website. It's called, how is it called? We are only going to watch him, like his videos, because I know for certain that they are not very, they're the most interesting ones, to be honest. There are a lot of lore videos and I think they're all pretty nice, but I can be 100% sure that his video quality is like the greatest of them all. I'm here, hello Dyke Damon, hi, we are watching some Sekiro lore today. Channel that we are watching. Okay, paste. I pressed something and everything got smaller for some reason. Did you saw that? Oh, okay, it reversed back. Why did I got like 2? Wait, it didn't work? Oh no, wait, I got like 2 chat boxes for some reason. From the same like source. Oh, okay, this is the thing that's not working right now. And for some reason I'm writing it as Momongus. Okay, that's fine too. I cannot pin my own message. Okay, I'm confused. I'm really confused right now. My message got like deleted instantly. Why it's so hard to pin right now? I'm watching you at least while I'm eating. Okay. Enjoy your food. I need to get my Twitch thingy. I'm sorry that we are now sitting in the void right now. He's nothing. But you have to endure the void for a second, okay? Not going to take that long. Huh? Wait, is it even working? Wait, am I online? This is bad. That looks bad. Why is it not loading? You may not be able to post links here. But I should, as myself. Okay, it works. Okay, it was just lagging for me, okay. Thank you so much for sending it in. I'm going to pin that. I cannot pin that. I can pin that. And I want to pin it on every other social media too. I just want to... Oh, I don't want to watch things without crediting them. Oh, okay, hier ist es now. Diese Nachricht anheften. Okay, now the last thing here. You can see everything like on the left. Okay. Oh, this is already here. Pin message. Message pin. Yeah, great. Okay, then. Now. Yeah, he does a lot of cool stuff, especially like when it comes to From Software, but he's also doing like other things. I think. Is he? No, it's mostly From Software. I have to show you that he made his own like. Okay, we are looking a second into this. Okay, he made like a book with a lot of different artists. They were making like art for Elden Ring, like how they would imagine Elden Ring and things like that, in different places, like in Dark Souls or in every other like Souls, like not Souls, like From Software game. They were not like visible and not discoverable, things that you ever only heard about it in like lore and stuff like that. It's so good, but this
A couple of years
freaking
ago,
thing
I
is
started
so
winning art
expensive.
competitions.
Yeah, look at that, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Stalks you as you
There's
on the
so
shore.
much art in it. It's ginormous. I want to buy it, but it's 70 euros. No, you have to think 70 euros only the book. No, 90 euros only the book. We don't we don't talk about shipping, you know. Shipping would be 150 or something like that. I cannot even though I love this book, I cannot use 150 euros for a book, for an art book, even if I really want to. It's such a nice thing. But if you want to see this art book, he probably he did some videos about it. Especially now, you can see it right now. But he did some videos about it and showed like the art in a special video. I think it was like it was very early, to be honest. It was even before Elden Ring came out. Yeah, it's here. Yeah, The Nightmare of Bloodborne 2, something like that. They did like their own imagination of Bloodborne 2. Do you know how crazy that is? That's so nice. That's so nice. I never played Bloodborne. We are 100% are going to play Bloodborne in the future. Not now. Not in the next, I don't know, 2 days. Someday. I never understood art books, but now I love them. Art books are so, yeah, I would never, I can understand it. I can understand it. Like, why should you buy like art books and stuff like that? But they're so good. I want one for photography. Photography would be so nice too. Just have something like a physical representation of your hobby is so good. But I never heard like of a photography how you call this art book. How no PS4? There's an emulator that can play Bloodborne right now on the PC on desktop. You can. It was actually very new. It has like it was like released in August. That means like 2 months ago, almost. And the emulator can play Bloodborne now, so you can play Bloodborne on PC. Isn't that crazy? And I think the FPS cap is like is corners. I think you can play the game like in literally normal FPS, like unlimited. I think, or maybe I just wrote like, and no, maybe I read it. I wrote. I read. Maybe I read like the complete opposite. I don't know how I got stuck there. Let's do a little test because I don't know how the volume is going to be. So I cannot like videos. I forgot I'm I'm in incognito mode. I'm only in incognito mode because I do not risk anything, and this is like the only thing. I was thinking about are those things scary up here? No, those are just random pinned things. I was really zooming the entire screen for like, okay, Mr. When are you going to dox me? I am going to see it, but no, it's literally nothing. Okay, then let's full build, full screen, and let's try to get the full resolution out of this. And let's look the beginning of Sekiro. Wow.
This video will end with our ascension of Ashina Castle, but our story begins many years before that. It begins.
Wait a second. I can hear the game like double. Is the volume okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it working? It's like in the yellow part, so I am going to reduce it a little bit here in YouTube itself. So it's a little bit quieter than normal voice. Okay.
This video will end with our ascension of Ashina Castle, but our story begins many years before that. It begins before Wolf was assigned to be the Divine Prince's shinobi, before he was plucked from the battlefield by his father. We have to go back, even before Ishin Ashina founded this nation, all the way back to a people who loved
Oh
the
no,
ancient land
so
they
far
lived
back.
upon.
Plus 1
Before this
decibel.
land was the place where we, the Ashina people, lived, where the waters flowed straight from the source. We were a people who loved our country dearly, but we were heretics, and we were weak. Naturally, we were overrun, trampled into submission for many long, excruciating years. We couldn't even pray at the water from the springs.
It's so weird to hear like the English voice actors.
The way we were then.
But then, the world fell into chaos. Could you tell me about the rebellion?
We just took back what was stolen from us. Amidst the chaos that was Japan, the endless casualties, the flames of war, we found the perfect opportunity to take back our land. General Tamura is no more!
Ishin, a sword saint of the Ashina, turned the tide in the rebellion. A devil with the sword, his technique was eagerly polished in the blood of his enemies, and his single-minded search for strength ended with him securing Ashina's independence once more. Pivotal in Ishin's coup were his 7 spears, of whom very few
Yobo.
remain in game, and of course his generals, every one of them accomplished in the now famous Ashina sword style. And in the aftermath of the rebellion, an owl plucks a starving wolf from the battlefield.
Well, would you look at that? Fascinating. Will you join me, starving wolf?
Our hunger may beget a fine shinobi, making us a worthy right hand, someone utterly loyal to our foster father. And to this end, we are eventually assigned a prestigious role, shinobi to Kuro, a young child who is an heir to a divine bloodline.
As your father, my word is absolute. Your master's is a close second.
It's
Oh,
possible that
I
this
never knew
scene,
this.
where we're tasked with the divine heir's protection, takes place in the Hirata estates. This is an abundant tract of land that was likely owned by Kuro's uncle, who would likely have taken him in after the death of his mother and father. An uncle we never meet, for everyone around the divine heir seems to die.
I tried my best to be his guardian, but look at me now.
3 years before the start of the game, the Hirata are raided by a swarm of bandits. They all attack with perfect timing when all of the young soldiers are out fighting, likely on behalf of the Ashina in their war. So only the older warriors remain here to protect the divine heir.
Hear me! My name is Nogami Gensai!
Oh, this guy.
I stood with the Ashina when they claimed this land!
The Hirata are a cadet branch of the Ashina. They share a really long history with the clan. And here, 3 years before the events of the main game, that long history ends, and you were not by your prince's side.
You're the young master's shinobi. What good are you? You were nowhere to be seen when things went south.
Protecting Kuro is your second rule, but your first
First rule is our father. I never knew this. Okay, for those who are confused. Oh, hello, Momo. Yo, what's up? Yeah, we're watching some Sekiro lore right now because I didn't understand the game. Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing good. Yeah, like when we had the option to like betray our divine hair like Kuro, I was like, okay, wait, rule number 1 is like the master's absolute. Why should I listen to my father? No, he was saying in the beginning like starving wolf. Rule number 1 is literally your father. I did not knew that. I was forgetting about this, but at least we did not get like the other ending. I think we did the right thing, I hope. Like Owl sounded very weird, to be honest. He sounded very, very weird, so I don't know if it's a good ending with helping him. Okay, wow.
Loyalty is to your father, so it follows that your father must have sent you away from Hirata in order for the attack to succeed. After all, this bandit attack was his idea.
Taking the Hirata estate was surprisingly easy. Owl's info was right on the money, you know.
The man Juzo is talking to is Masanari, a lone shadow of the Interior Ministry, and you can think of the Interior Ministry as a sort of central government force in Japan. It's a force that appears to have come out on top of Japan's Sengoku-era conflict, and now they have the Ashina clan on
The
their hit list.
redheads.
The bandits are simply a means to an end. They're a way for the Interior Ministry to strike a blow against the Ashina and mask the Interior Ministry's involvement.
How's today, Momo? I'm good, I'm really, really good.
Down-and-out villain, Masanari.
Well, he's useful right now, so endure him. For all his scheming, he's a nameless rogue shinobi. His efforts won't amount to much.
Father.
Ah,
It's you. I'm afraid I made a bit of a blunder. Perhaps the years have finally caught up with me. Wolf, protect your master with your life.
Al fakes his death. Now,
this little shithead. I really thought at that moment that Owl was dead because I was like, oh, okay. It's like the typical anime stuff that my father's going to die, like at this place, and I'm never going to see him like fight. Twitch is dead right now, so I'm chilling here. Wait, what? Twitch is dead? For real? Yeah, I was on Twitch. I was wondering why it was not working. Twitch is dead. Wait, Momo is on Twitch right now. Wait, is it dead for you too, Momo? But I'm right here. Does it run for you like the stream? For me, it's not loading for some reason. I can hear you. Oh, but I can see you too. Oh, that was a weird way to say yes. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. I hope it's getting better. Links the swag. It shows this broadcast has ended on every stream I click on. Oh, Twitch is getting crazy. What the heck? I'm so sorry. I hope it's getting better very, very soon. Oh, that is super random right now. That word's choosing there. That's okay. On Kick, you can have custom emotes even without having affiliate. It's crazy. But I don't have custom emotes right now. I only have like 3 emotes, and the 3 emotes are literally the head pet and the heart. It could be original. Oh, okay. Very, very sad. I'm so freaking disappointed by. Okay, this is going to be complicated to be honest.
able to operate fully in the shadows, while you build a stronger connection with the Divine Heir by rescuing him from this nightmare.
My lord.
But why was Lady Butterfly bad?
Son of Owl.
This is Phantom Butterfly, a master of illusions who trained you in the shinobi arts at Owl's request. Owl's real name is Usui, and Lady Butterfly herself trained in Usui's forest, a place far to the north filled with mist and mystifications.
Ew,
she
this
trained
place.
you since you were a cub, and with her dying breath, she finally acknowledges your growth.
Lady Butterfly, forgive me.
I was so confused. I really was so hardcore confused why Lady Butterfly was attacking us, and I was like, what? Okay. And I still don't get it. Was she in on it with Owl? What the heck?
Stronger. Wolf.
Owl's ultimate goal is immortality, the power of the dragon's heritage. It's a power held by Kuro that can be transferred to another. Kuro has lost his mother, he's lost his father, his uncle, his clan, and now he's lost his shinobi as well, who just so happens to be Owl's loyal cub.
You fought bravely.
And
on
it
my
didn't need it?
behalf. I cannot throw away such loyalty. Loyal wolf, take my blood and live again.
We just got
It's
the...
my theory that Al clears out the Hirata estates and might have even killed Kuro's mother and father in order to increase Kuro's reliance on us and, by extension, Al as well. And
I swear to God, I knew it in the beginning that this guy was so manipulative for some reason. This guy was so manipulative. I think, No, let's go.
indeterminable amount of time passes, and you awaken in a well deep within Ashina lands, wounded and with little memory of recent events. A single sakura petal falls from our person, representing a rebirth that we must have experienced here. This is the power of the dragon's heritage, a power that Al, Lady Butterfly, and now Lord Genichiro crave for their own ends.
Imprisoning a mere child. I feel sorry for the boy.
Agreed. But I'm sure Lord Genichiro has his reasons.
Lord Genichiro now leads the Ashina clan in his grandfather's stead, for Ishin is old, ailing, but apparently he's not too keen to keep a child locked up.
There's a
He's
secret
old.
passage beneath the moat bridge that will take us out of the castle. Lord Ishin told me about it once.
So, with our sword, Kusabimaru, an heirloom of the Hirata family, and Kuro, one of their last living members, by our side, we attempt to flee Ashina and abandon all allegiance to this country, but it was not to be.
The divine heir. Last we stood together was your uncle's funeral.
Yeah, it was so easy for us to flee, like, in the beginning. That was crazy when you think about it. Like, the entire, like, the entire Ashina was almost, like, keeping care of, like, getting Kuro, like, locked in one single small wooden shack. Why?
As mentioned earlier, Kuro's uncle was of the Hirata, a man who took him in after the death of his parents.
Oh, this is in the
By
beginning of the
mentioning
game.
their shared presence at the funeral, Genichiro is reminding Kuro of his blood ties to the Ashina and shaming him for the fealty to country and kin that he is shirking. To Genichiro, that fealty is everything, for Genichiro was actually born a peasant, taken in by the Ashina after his mother's death. There is an astounding amount of parent-child complexes in Sekiro, and it wouldn't surprise me if Genichiro thought of this country as a substitute for his own mother, in a way. He owes everything to this country, and he constantly says how he'll go to any ends to protect her. Once more, you're defeated through treachery, except this time you awaken in a dilapidated temple. A Buddha sculptor dragged you here from the field, and he nursed you back to health. He feigns this disinterest in you, but he betrays a sincere knowledge and empathy of your situation.
He's being held prisoner in Ashina Castle. They will soon make use of his bloodline. Looking at you, I'm sure you appreciate the value it has.
Here, too, is the woman
Oh,
with
not
the red
Emma! Not Emma! But I was really confused why they had, why they took so much time of getting, like, Kuro's blood, to be honest. When it was so easy to, like, get it, why did they not, like, force him? It's always like this weird thing with like From Software. The time is running so slow, to be honest. Of course, you're running one for like 10, 13 hours in that map, but did it ever got dark? I could imagine that the thing here happening in Sekiro, like the entire game was only in 4 days or something like that. Or in 1 week, I could imagine that.
umbrella that bid us to rise from the well.
My name is Emma. I am a doctor serving a certain master.
What master?
Forgive me, but for his safety, I cannot reveal his identity.
The master she serves is Lord Ishin, who is, again, the now old man who once brought the Ashina to glory. And while it's true that Ishin is allied with his grandson Genichiro, he still directs his healer to assist you in retrieving the prince,
Yeah, that's
making
so weird.
no effort to cut you down, even in moments where he clearly could. The truth is, Ishin cares about the Ashina insofar as his own skills can allow him to save it. He cares about a good fight above all else, and he will not abandon his own self, his own soul, in pursuit of power.
That makes so much in the end as we like defeated freaking Ishin. He was not really like dying because of us. He was literally letting he was giving his like ritual death, you know. He allowed us in the end to kill him. That was crazy. This guy's old and full with honor.
For using such a power as the dragon's heritage comes at a great cost. Dragon rot, an epidemic that spreads to those that you've been in contact with, stagnating their life force so that your life force can thrive. And this is a story that has played out once before, long ago.
There was a dragon rot epidemic in Ashina once before. Back then, a cure was not achieved. Every single person who caught it died.
And in the time since your defeat to Genichiro, your divine heir has been wrestling with this burden of his power.
We managed to drive them back once, but the Interior Ministry's army is far too powerful.
And that is why you wish to use the power of my blood. It doesn't matter how much power you obtain. You'll keep on fighting until you're a monster, incapable of feeling pain or fear. I do not wish to corrupt the lives of men.
Look at this mountain of bodies. Ashina cannot be defended by normal means. Not anymore.
I could never be as strong as you, Lord Genichiro. I do not yet know what it is I should do.
As you follow Kuro's remnants leading towards Ashina Castle, you realize just how beaten and bruised the Ashina are.
Yeah, it was
as the
looking
Interior
terrible.
Ministry steadily wears them down, as Ishin falls to his illness, and with Kuro refusing to grant the Ashina the power of his blood, something had to be done instead. A Taro troop of physically enhanced but vacant brutes
Oh, the big
are forced
guys.
into battle, not to mention a bull fitted with a blazing totem.
I forgot about
Troops
him.
and generals patrol the landscape endlessly, and you cut them all down in Kuro's name. In no small way, you single-handedly make it very easy for the Ashina to be invaded.
Okay, I knew it. I was like, wait, when the Ashina's like on our side, why we are fighting against them, to be honest? It was so confusing, like Ishin being our friend, like the leader of the Ashina, but Genichiro not, and then we are fighting against them to protect our divine hair, but it was so weird. It was so, basically we were the bad guys.
As it stands, the wave of Interior Ministry troops are breaking upon one
My name is Kyobu Masataka Oniwa!
I love this guy.
As I breathe, you will not pass the castle gate!
Gyobu the Demon, a retainer to Lord Genichiro. But he was not always allied with the Ashina. In fact, he was once an infamous bandit chief within these lands. But then Ishin defeated him, and he was so impressed by his strength that he awarded him the spear of General Tamura, who you saw before, and convinced Gyobu to fight for the Ashina instead. With his death, you destroy the last real defense leading to Ashina Castle. That is, except for an old man within the adjacent watchtower. A man
The
with a
only
talent
guy.
for killing rats, and he's one who knows much
Tengu.
about the Ashina sword arts.
Care to hunt some rats with me?
What?
Rats have snuck into Ashina, scurrying about like they own the place. And they must be cut down. Every last one of them.
War is on the horizon, a dreadful one at that. It will give birth to a demon. I'm certain of it. The dead will rise as mountains, and the hate will flow like an inferno.
Is it the old
But
woman?
it is all to get your prince back. And despite the endless entreaties of Genichiro and the suffering of the Ashina at every turn,
it's so
Kuro
terrible.
never once lost faith that you would return.
He will risk his life to take me home. For he is my shinobi.
Englisch voice like das. Oh, yeah, it was
My
this
lord,
thing.
I have come for you. This will only take a moment.
Oh, the fight against Genichiro was so cool. It was so cool.
Let's see. For as long as you are alive, the dragon's blood can never be mine.
Genichiro is the best kind of villain. He's the sort that commits evil in pursuit of a single-minded purpose. Not unlike you, really. You, who spread dragon rot to keep your prince safe. You, who murder hundreds of Ashina soldiers simply fighting for their land. Genichiro truly believes Ashina cannot be saved through normal means, and he risks everything by antagonizing you, clinging to this faint hope of being granted Kuro's power.
Impressive.
I'm so confused when you think about it, because like the rejuvenating waters made him already like not the how you call it, invulnerable almost. He was not dying. I wait. That's why I'm confused why he needs the dragon's blood. Even though he's already I don't know the word anymore. The word for not dying.
Shinobi of the divine heir. But you deserve better. Would you not answer to a different lord?
Heresy.
Heresy, you say? If it is for the sake of preserving Ashina.
Yeah, I think
I will
Genichiro
seize
was not
any
a bad
man
guy,
for
to be
my
honest.
Strength. I will endure any burden. Behold the lightning of Tomoe.
Who was Tomoe, huh? Tell me.
Lady Tomoe was Genichiro's mentor. She was a master of the sword who descended to Ashina bearing many heretical arts, and often Genichiro could be spotted in the courtyard behind the castle practicing his swordplay, all the while glaring at the lightning roiling in the clouds. Tomoe is an immensely important character who I actually fully expect to have her own DLC, but we'll touch on her and what we know about her in the next video.
Wait, is it already over? Oh no, it's not. Okay.
Lord Genichiro, is this the rejuvenating waters?
Yeah, he's already undying.
Ashina, this land is everything to me. For her sake.
I feel so sorry for Genichiro now for some reason.
Humanity itself.
Resurrection.
Yes. Indeed. So.
Note that both Ishin and Genichiro never say they fight for Ashina's people. No,
For the
they
land.
fight for Ashina's land.
Yeah.
One small part of Ashina is exceedingly old, after all, and the ancient soil, rocks, and water are said to have attracted the attention of the gods. Add to this the fact that the dragon's heritage was set free from its homeland and drifted here to Japan, and we realize that there is certainly an ancient origin story here somewhere that we are missing. It's something that Genichiro and Ishin likely know, for they are unwilling to accept anything other than total ownership, both of the land and the water that runs through it.
Okay, so it's kind of like Elden Ring. It sounds weird, but there was some outer god coming out from somewhere again, crashing into like Japan. And that's why the rejuvenating waters and the divine blood even exists. It's the same thing.
To think that Lord Genichiro would go as far as to drink the rejuvenating sediment.
Rejuvenating sediment.
That's what we call a particularly concentrated part of the rejuvenating waters. I'm sure you saw it for yourself.
The rejuvenating waters. They flow from the divine realm all the way through Ashina's lands, but it seems like they weren't meant for this land. Drink them, and you may inherit an echo of Kuro's immortality at the risk of your own humanity.
The rejuvenating sediment grants great resilience in one's flesh. One becomes able to withstand blows that would be fatal to anyone else. My mentor Dogen devoted much research to its uses.
So you're not dead, you're not like, not deadable, you're not unkillable, you're just very, very resilient to damage, okay.
But all of his works, documents, medicines, everything, were burned and destroyed. I'm not sure who, but I heard one of the senior apprentices was able to salvage some of it, probably Dojun.
And deep below Ashina Castle, in a long-abandoned dungeon
Wait, this
full
random
of
guy?
undying men, one of Emma's fellow disciples,
guy?
Dojin, researches the waters.
For the glory of Ashina.
Wait, this random NPC that we found in this cave, I was thinking he was completely useless.
They let us in on many discoveries, but one is that red eyes commonly manifest in those who are unable to achieve their desires. And considering there are Hirata soldiers guarding both ends of the cave, and that the results of these experiments fight for the Ashina, it's pretty clear that Genichiro was invested in this research. Furthermore, according to the Ministry dowsing powder, we learned that the Interior Ministry feared Ashina, her eyes bloodshot with the waters of rejuvenation.
Lady Emma, tell me, what has caused the state of this man?
The rejuvenating waters, that is what it is called.
Are you telling me that this is Ashina's secret weapon?
I am. Those who drink it cannot fully die. No, they become unable to die at all. The rejuvenating water, it also...
It springs from the dragon's blood, does it not?
Yes.
Lady Emma, I do not believe the dragon's blood is sacred. Not at all.
It's no surprise then that when we next meet with Kuro, he no longer wishes to abandon Ashina. Instead, he's grown. He's taken on the immense responsibility of his power, and now he aims to sever immortality.
Yeah, in the beginning of the game, to be honest, the only objective we had was to leave this place, just to leave Ashina. But yeah, now I see why it was so bad. But it was not his fault, of course, but it's very bad.
No matter the cost. In no small way, it was probably the desperation of Genichiro that led him to this conclusion, and you can tell that he even harbors some regrets about resurrecting you.
I have come for you, my lord.
Yes, you did well to come here.
Let us go. We must leave Ashina.
Wolf, my blood. The blood of the dragon causes men to become undying. The same goes for you.
Yes, my lord.
I wished to save you. I'm sure that I would do the same thing given another chance. However, undying begets stagnation. The immortal oath, the rejuvenating waters, the dragon rot, they all corrupt men, to the point that they no longer live as men. I wish to sever the chains of stagnation bred by the dragon's heritage. Wolf, will you help me achieve this aim?
The only way to absolve that guilt of resurrecting you is to use you to relinquish his power altogether. The quest for that goal is long and it's complicated, but it's super rewarding to understand, and it's a story for the next video. Honestly, it's a story we're going to be telling for months, as Sekiro is definitely more complicated than many people are giving it credit for, and after that we'll dive into the endings. What circumstances lead to those endings, and where can the story go after those endings? And finally, in every From Software game, there is lore that can only really be pieced together through context and the relationships between different parts of the story. This is the hidden lore, the stories that have yet to be told and probably will be told in the DLC to come. And then it will be time for Shadows Cry Twice, deep dives into some of the best characters that From Software have ever written. so subscribe and consider checking out the Patreon if you're interested in becoming a deeper member of this community. There's so much to cover in the months to come, so let's figure it all out together, and I'll see you next time.
Whoa. Oh, this is the first video. Yeah! I love this. I love watching his videos. They are so good. They are so good. To be honest, every time when I watch this video, I think like, wow, I can understand something now. I never knew. I never knew what the Hirata estate was. I never knew this. In the Interior Ministry, I never heard of those two names. I was like, okay, those are the redheads. And those are the old men. But whoa, okay, there are two different people. And now it's pretty more clear that we are kind of the bad guy a little bit. Okay, Genichiro was bad to be honest when we think about it. He was like doing experiments and stuff like that, so, huh. I am really confused. I am really confused. Okay, next one. Simple Temple and the Dragon's Return.
Long ago,
like the other ones are not so long. They're only like for 15 minutes each. The first two ones are the longest ones.
Everlasting being called the Sakura Dragon took root in Ashina's lands. From it flowed various forms of immortality, powers that would go on to corrupt the lives of men. One of these was the dragon's heritage, a direct line to the dragon's undying blood, and from that blood came the rejuvenating waters, which was a bewitching force that grants great resilience to one's flesh. However, this power was never meant for Japan, and from these gifts stemmed infestations and rot, leading many, like Kuro, a divine heir, to ponder whether this power was a blessing or a curse. So atop Ashina Castle, our goal becomes to sever this immortality, and what better weapon for this task than the Crimson Mortal Blade? This is one of two weapons in this world that's capable of wounding immortal beings, and once we ascend to the dragon's realm with this sword, we can rebuke its power. The Crimson Mortal Blade's true name, after all, is the Gracious Gift of Tears, and by making the dragon cry, we reject its gift of everlasting life.
A little bit more than
Where
making
is
it
this
cry.
mortal blade?
I've heard it's held in Senpo Temple. The gates to that temple are closed now, though. Who knows what those degenerates are doing shut away up there in the mountains.
Senpo Temple was once a place dedicated to Buddha's teachings. These were teachings of selflessness, of death, and of rebirth. However,
Those of the Senpo Temple have strayed from
I
Buddhist.
never understood this talking random carpet on the wall. I never know, and I will never know why this carpet was talking to me.
Teachings. They have abandoned their faith, seduced by a search for immortality.
and since you're now considered an immortal being,
Should you be captured, there is no telling what would become of you. You would do well to return the way you came.
despite being these rotting degenerates infested with immortal centipedes, the monks may not be as evil as they're being portrayed, but we'll get to that later. The first monks you fight bite down on sugars to enhance their strength, which should be a strategy that's very familiar to you if you've been using these sugars that you find scattered
did?
across all of Ashina.
I never noticed that.
Their placement around the world is actually very intentional, for in an effort to curry favor with the Ashina, the Senpo monks effectively bribed the Ashina with candy. They spread these sugars across all of these lands in honor of Ashina's military heroes. Gokan, and even Ako, Ango, or Yashariku are statued as we first enter Senpo. These men once fought for their country, but they all became corrupted, turning into the headless monsters that you find throughout your travels. Ango, for example, lost his mind in defense of the state, and he was beheaded, sinking to the bottom of a moat. And since these sugar blessings are coming from such tormented creatures,
I was so scared of the headless. I was never going into the close to them. They were so freaking scary. Okay, makes sense.
you kind of have to wonder at what cost to us or them are these blessings being imparted. And, you know, while we never really do get a chance to explore Senpo Temple's candy factory, the monks themselves use these sugars really liberally. They use every single one of them except Yashiriku, actually. This candy in particular puts you closer to death, which made it forbidden to the monks of the temple, yet they had no problem distributing it far and wide in the name of donations towards their costly, undying research. So these sugars brought them wealth, and they brought them favor with the Ashina, and this focus on wealth in particular actually aligns with another tool of theirs, the Golden Vortex. It's an upgraded version of their large fan, which forces enemies to drop items and money, which are to be considered donations. And it's all ironic, really, considering the words of their founder. One should focus only on deeds of virtue, and forego thoughts of attaining wealth. These are the words of the High Priest, and they were ideals that were upheld with a tenacious mastery of martial arts. These martial arts culminated in the Senpo esoteric text, a tome that contains skills that are both martial arts and prayers, weighted strikes that purge the self of worldly desire, for without strength one cannot defeat the enemies of Buddha, and as we know, there's at least one undying enemy of Buddha occupying a Buddhist temple in-game. Eventually, however, this ideology decayed and festered, for the Senpo temple was seized by an obsession with undeath, and their martial arts that were once used for virtue became used in the pursuit of immortality instead. There's even a curious statue sitting before their esoteric text that is consumed by flame, its left half blackened and burned, and if you finish the game, you'll know that this could be a sign of Shura, a demon that appears in the bodies of those who have lost all virtue. This is a Myo-o statue, and these statues represented guardians of Buddhist lore, so it being so badly damaged is wholly representative of the degradation of Senpo's brand of Buddhism. This fall from grace has a lot to do with Senpo's experimentation with the rejuvenating waters, which, as we mentioned earlier, is a legendary source of immortality.
Yeah, I'm really curious why they actually did it. They had no reason to get immortality. They were protected by the Ashina. They were back there in their I don't know, in their mountain there at Mount Congo. They were way far in the back, I think. They were so far. When they had fear of the war there. I don't know why they did it.
And it flows from the dragon's blood. We talked about Ishin in the last video on the first half of Sekiro that you watched, and he was a legendary figure who established Ashina as the dominant force in the land. We spoke of how he hates the rats from the Interior Ministry who are preparing to invade his land, but curiously, he also considers these short assassins to be rats, as they spy on behalf of Senpo Temple.
It seems Ishin's illness is indeed grave.
The land of Ashina will not last much longer, even with Genichiro on our side.
Here, the Senpo assassins spy on Ishin, ruminating on how the land of the Ashina is doomed, even with Genichiro on their side. Senpo is part of Ashina, after all, and its monks are equally screwed if the Interior Ministry invades them all, especially since the Interior Ministry actually fears the waters of rejuvenation, and Senpo Temple has been experimenting successfully with the waters of rejuvenation for years. They have a lot to lose if Ashina goes down. Talking more about these short assassins, they were originally hired to guard Senpo Temple, but inevitably they became an extension of the monks' will in their quest for undeath. Their mission became to kidnap children so that the Senpo monks could experiment on them with the waters of rejuvenation. So, circling back around to Ishin, it's no wonder that he considers these assassins to be rats and degenerates. In fact, knowledge of these experiments on children could explain why Ishin supports our quest to sever Kudo's immortality, and why he's so disappointed in Genichiro's use of the rejuvenating waters.
Wow, Ishin was just an old man, a good old man. Why did he have to die?
Since his grandson Genichiro actually sided with the degenerates of Senpo. In fact, there's evidence to suggest that Genichiro was actually encouraging even more research on the rejuvenating waters through Dosaku, who you would have seen experimenting with them on Ashina's behalf in the abandoned dungeon. This place is right outside of Senpo Temple, and Dosaku wears a garb that's actually identical to that of the bomb thrower monks. In addition, he fights with their martial arts, cementing the connection between the two places.
You could fight
And
against him?
considering this man was an ex-disciple of Dogen, who is another important character, I wouldn't be surprised if Dogen was also involved with experiments on the rejuvenating children as well. Dotting the hills of Mount Congo are hundreds of little statues that are accompanied by red and white pinwheels. These were offered in fond remembrance for the children that the monks sacrificed in their experiments with immortality.
It's so sick.
And at least one of these children is likely named...
Oh no, not Robert.
You might have heard of him. Round and round, all their little pinwheels spin. And yet, the children are still right here.
The spinning red and white flowers. Only one pure white flower.
And of all the children, only one child survived the ritual.
Why did it have to be children? No, for real, why did it have to be children? Just because? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, the only divine child.
It was by a hair's breadth, but mercifully, she survived. Oh, she must have suffered greatly. You'd best treat her kindly.
This member of the memorial mob still remembers the event. And it makes sense, right? Because where you find the departed, you will find the memorial mob. Curiously though, when he contracts dragon rot, he actually draws a parallel to what the children went through during the experiment.
Oh, divine children, forgive me.
What's wrong with you?
Buddha's just and righteous punishment. I had no idea the divine children were suffering so badly. I see now. I must make an offering.
He feels guilty, but none should feel more guilt than those who are directly responsible.
Children of the rejuvenating waters, forgive me. That child. She's the only one left. She must be lonely, trapped in that room by herself. So you're the one who works for the divine heir of the dragon's blood.
That's right.
The divine heir is truly exalted. But exalted or not, man is still man. Oh, I'm so foolish that I didn't understand that myself. Don't leave your divine heir on his own. Leave. It's too late to regret once you've already lost them.
This man is a high-ranking priest, as he claims to be at fault for the divine child's confinement. Furthermore, he's proof that the monks knew that their experiment was successful, but ironically, it also seems like it's impossible for them to reach the realm where she resides.
It's my fault. The child. She's confined within the inner sanctum. It's impossible to see her now.
So
Why?
confused.
Well, this is just speculation, but my theory is that Buddha himself protects the realm where the divine child resides. Because this space that she's at lies past the illusory halls. This is a realm protected by the folding screen monkeys,
The
beings that
monkeys.
are said to occupy a space between life and death. These guys are a play on a proverb that you've probably heard, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. This is a famous proverb of Buddhist tradition, and there's even an invisible fourth monkey, who is a reference to the do no evil principle that they often leave out when they're talking about this legend.
I know this actually because my mother was like Buddhist and I was like interested in a little bit of Buddhism in general. Like I was just watching a couple of videos and then this was like one of the first things that popped off.
To me is evidence that the Senpo monks turned a blind eye, a deaf ear, a mute voice upon their sinful path to enlightenment, and it's likely to me that this boss fight represents that fact. There exists a prosthetic in Sekiro called the Large Fan. which allows you to spirit people away. All of the monks of Senpo Temple were actually spirited away once before, that's why they're here. But if you spirit them away again, rumors say they'll disappear forever. Unless, of course, they're Kotaro, a kind Senpo monk, or unless they're the other monk here in the illusory halls who seems legitimately set on achieving nirvana. The fact that these two wholesome, legitimate monks are the only beings that were actually able to reach these halls when they're spirited away twice plays into my belief that Buddha is perhaps protecting this realm from the infested.
By the way, there was once someone who, like you, was on a mission. I believe he chased the monkeys for a while, but everything here eventually went silent.
This someone is almost certainly Genichiro. He's a man with friendly links to Senpo Temple, a man who is looking for the mortal blade, and he's someone who would have found it impossible to catch the monkeys, since he doesn't have the same talents that we have. It's almost as if this was meant to be solved by us.
Please, forgive them. They only sought to keep me hidden. However, it seems it was not meant to be. Close your eyes. Let us meet at the inner sanctum.
Here, the divine child of the rejuvenating waters imparts you, finally, with the mortal blade, which you're able to draw thanks to your resurrective powers.
I accept its power.
Wolf, that sword on your back, is it the sword that can kill those who cannot die?
Yes. It was given to me by the divine child of the rejuvenating waters at Senpo Temple.
The divine child of the rejuvenating waters?
The monks at Senpo Temple abandoned the ways of their faith in pursuit of immortality. The result is those who have false dragon's heritage, known as the divine children of the rejuvenating waters.
A false dragon's heritage. I never would have thought. Wait, divine children?
Yes, many were created, but only one survived.
Further proof of the corruption this power brings to man. The ties of immortality must be severed.
Yes, my lord.
Now that you have the gracious gift of tears, we can actually acquire the dragon's tears and sever immortality. Interestingly though, we are not the first to seek the Crimson Mortal Blade with a mortal severance in mind. Many years ago, there was a woman named Tomoe and a divine heir named Takeru who tried to do the same. Tomoe's note reads, "Returning to the divine realm is hopeless, and I wish only to sever the dragon's heritage and restore his humanity." What she's describing is the purification ending, where the Oathbound commit Sudoku, restoring the divine heir's mortality and their humanity. She goes on to write, "Restoration requires the Everblossom and the Mortal Blade, and yet I cannot acquire the latter." The Mortal Blade was hidden by the High Priest of Senpo Temple, who has no desire to sever the immortal ties. The High Priest is central to everything in Senpo. He was the founder of this temple, so we need to figure out what his motivations were for creating the Divine Child, for starting this temple, for hiding away the Mortal Blade, and for creating the Divine Children. We find him, dressed all in blue.
It was him? Wait,
his
you cannot see him.
corpse sequestered away in a cave, and instead...
It was this random guy! I was thinking like, oh, this is a nice game sprite. Random monks like in a cave. I was walking through this cave to get like the esoteric text at the top because I was getting lost like for like 2 hours almost, and I didn't know where to run. I was like, huh? Why are you looking so different? Can I talk with you? No, he was just dead.
Instead of a mortal severance, which Tomoe wanted, the High Priest wanted a different ending. Turns out, he was actually gunning for the Dragon's Return ending, which he must have looked up on a wiki or something, because that shit's complicated. But to this end, and for this Dragon's Return ending, he outlined his journey in 2 sacred scriptures. The first text that describes his journey is Holy Chapter Infested. Depending on when you arrive here, it's either in the hands of the regretful monk outside the Halls of Illusion, or it's thrown to the bottom of the lake in disgust. It lays out a founding principle for Senpo Temple, that their journey is to spend an eternity musing on why they cannot die. The text is from the perspective of the High Priest, and it reads, "For an age I have been blessed by the worm. To be undying is to walk the eternal path to enlightenment.
We read that.
Thus, I must become enlightened to understand why I cannot die. It is said that the holy dragon's origins were in the West. So I wonder, how did the worm come to be bestowed upon me?" This text reveals a potentially major twist in Senpo Temple's lore. It reveals that their founding principle isn't necessarily to acquire immortality. After all, the monks already assumed they were immortal from the centipedes. No, instead their founding goal was to understand their infestation, something the High Priest considered enlightenment, although whether it is enlightenment and whether the path to that enlightenment was justified, that is another story. But he believed that the avenue to this enlightenment was the creation of a divine child of the rejuvenating waters, and they abandoned all virtue and ethics while chasing that creation. And when you give the divine child this text, it explains to her why she was created.
I was told to give this to you.
Thank you. I will accept it.
What's wrong?
I still cannot help but detest them.
In the end, though, the information within does set her on a path to the dragon's return.
There is something I would like to discuss. I believe we should aim not to sever the dragon's heritage, but instead to return it to its rightful place.
Return the dragon's blood?
That's right. The dragon's heritage was set free from its homeland, and it drifted here to Japan. Its power was never meant for this land. Until something is done, it will continue to corrupt the lives of those who encounter it. The dragon's heritage and those connected to it. It is only right that they return home, to the West, to the birthplace of the divine dragon. However, there is one problem. I am unsure of the exact destination.
Who would know?
Perhaps the High Priest of Senpo Temple.
And he is?
He's the founder of Senpo Temple. I wonder how old he actually is. He has secluded himself in a 5-story pagoda, past the narrow cave not far from here. Shinobi of the Divine Air.
Yes?
This path differs from that of the one to sever immortality. I do not wish to force my opinion upon you. Should you wish to return the dragon's heritage, then perhaps you should seek out the High Senpo priest.
The Infested chapter speaks of his undying journey.
The divine dragon came from America. Okay, no. What the heck? There's this questline. You can return the dragon back to America? The rest I know, but that's crazy. What the heck? We had the text. We could have just gave her, but I forgot to take more wise for some. I was rushing too hard. I was thinking about talking with her again to get more wise, but I'm so stupid.
Towards understanding why he cannot die, and the second chapter, Dragon's Return, lays out his conclusions. It reads, "Undying, I pray for the dragon's return. Undying, lo, let us wait an age, for the divine air to assimilate the cold dragon tears, for the cradle to consume the pear of serpentine fruits. Let the cradle endure, giving him shelter, granting his return to the west." The serpentine fruits mentioned are the dried and fresh hearts of the serpents of the sunken valley, and Senpo actually has a lot of pre-existing links with the snakes and with the valley that are really easy to miss. However, discussion surrounding the snakes will continue in the Sunken Valley episode, and we'll go deeper into the dragon's return, I think, in the endings video. Remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out, by the way. It's coming soon.
Oh, it was fast.
I want to leave you on a really important topic. The infested. The centipedes.
Of course.
You probably thought I'd mentioned them earlier. They're so core to Senpo Temple, and yet I mentioned them last because, just like the monks and their motivation, we don't really have enough information on them yet, in my opinion, to draw guaranteed conclusions. What we do know is that the centipedes are found within Hanbei, the Senpo monks, the guardian ape, and the corrupted monk. And in all of these examples, the hosts actually have a pretty symbiotic relationship with the centipede. They're able to carry on their goals while infested, whether it be defending a bridge, meditating on undeath, or just cultivating a flower to give to a mate. The centipede is more than happy to stay in the body for a ridiculous amount of time, and that might be their goal. We'll get to that later. But assuming that the rejuvenating waters and the fountainhead waters are the same thing, then these waters are actually what all the infested have in common. The guardian ape resides in a valley where the fountainhead waters pool deeply. The corrupted monk guards the fountainhead palace, and could also have link to the Senpo monks, who themselves have studied the waters for an age. To me, it makes a lot of sense that the centipedes come from these waters. After all, the waters stem from the dragon's heritage, and the dragon's heritage too has its own form of stagnation, in the form of dragon rot, which eats away at one's life force. The centipedes mirror that stagnation in the waters of rejuvenation. Sealing it for me is that there is actually one more.
So wait, there was a Genichiro centipede somewhere. Hello, we could and bye again. But crazy. Stevie, so bad. Take care, okay? Take care and get a lot of rest. Yeah. But it's crazy. I was already thinking like what it has to do with like all of those different thousand centipedes in this game, but they are just a byproduct of the rejuvenating waters. That makes sense. But why did the corrupted monk had one? Oh, okay. Wait. I don't know. I really don't know. And why I had Hanbei one? Hanbei was the guy like in the beginning who was yeah, bye for real now. Okay, bye. Good night and have a good one. Have a good one. But yeah, why had Hanbei one? This is confusing because who was this guy at the end? Who was this guy? Why did he drink like rejuvenating water?
Place that the centipedes appear. It's very hard to find, but deep below Fountainhead Lake, surrounding the corpse of a giant carp, are tens of luminescent centipedes, which might mean that they infest the very source of the rejuvenating waters. Interestingly, giant carp in Sekiro are supposedly everlasting and have goals of becoming a dragon, and the fact that some centipedes have stripped away an immortal corpse is curious, to say the least. In addition, there are multiple Japanese legends that link centipedes and dragons, but those are tales for another time. For all their mentions about centipedes making the infested immortal, they might actually not. For in the cave by the 5-tier pagoda, we find the high priest and his peers as still and as dead as the centipedes that rest upon them. The nature of the high priest's undeath is by far the most intriguing part of Senpo Temple. Did he know when he was going to die? Is this why he and his peers hid away in a cave so no one would find out? Did the centipede leave their bodies once it was fully grown? Does it have some objective beyond this place? Where did it go? And also, how did this guy discover so much about the dragon's return? And what was his relationship like with the Divine Child? She knows about him somehow, after all. There's a lot of questions that I could speculate on for hours, but this has gone too long already. I'm curious though, as always. What do you think? I've actually decided to split.
I was thinking the same. I was like, why did he die first? The centipedes really the reason. I think the centipedes are not like making them immortal. I think they were just a byproduct of them being immortal. Because he said like the carp like in the rejuvenating waters like below were like eaten by the centipede and they're like originating from there. Maybe they're just like a parasite, you know? A parasite that comes with the rejuvenating waters, eating on their mortal flesh. Ah, maybe it really just left after they were grown enough. Oh, that's scary. It's freaking scary. The centipedes are self-immortal. Wait, they are when you think about it.
The majority of Sekiro's story into 4 parts now, and I'm doing this for a few reasons, partly because it allows me to go into way more detail, as you can probably tell from this episode, and partly because, hey, I get to commission a bunch of incredible art for every single episode, so that makes me happy. If you want to access all my notes, or if you want full-sized exclusive wallpapers that you see featured on these thumbnails, then...
Yeah, he said it was a byproduct, but he didn't said like that, he speculated, so I don't know if it's like the right thing. So I don't know.
Check out our
Was sounding pretty like, how you call this? Was sounding right, yeah.
Patreon, or just subscribe with Twitch Prime over on Twitch. The next few weeks are all about the lore, so stay tuned, and I'll hash all of it out.
Oh. Oh yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Wait, okay, then it makes also sense why the centipedes are there. Okay, the rejuvenating waters are like, coming from the dragon's blood. It comes from the dragon, and then it makes also sense that they have something to do with dragons. The centipedes are okay. No, that doesn't make any sense. The dragon came from the west here to Japan. He resides on this big fountainhead, and the waters now making people invincible. They cannot die anymore. And for some reason, they are centipedes now. From software. Wow. Okay. There's basically, I think there's a thing. There's a thing behind it. Maybe some folklore thing. I think like I know one fact in like Japanese folklore. It's you cannot look here. I don't have a bot here. But thank you for the luck. I think like in Japanese folklore, it's always stated that like samurai and things like it fought against like the centipedes and stuff like that. And also I think centipedes are always I didn't know if they had something with how you call it, immortality. So here's like this video that I watched 10 Japanese secrets in Sekiro, but I never watched like I never finished it. I was just starting it with like 4 minutes, so Sunken Valley, next one.
On your way to retrieve the Lotus of the Palace, you journey through the sun.
The Lotus, the story, you know, like the context behind it. We needed some fragrance to get into the Divine Realm, to get actually like the tear from the dragon's blood, from the Divine Dragon, to sever like immortality. So we searched for this one fragrant, this little flower, and it was here in Sunken Valley.
Sunken Valley,
like
a place
one ingredient.
That's inaccessible to most. In it coils a white serpent, an old god of the land. It's worshipped by the Sunken Valley clan, a forlorn people who man the gun fort. Deeper still, you'll find the valley where the monkeys dwell, where the sculptor once trained to become a shinobi. He trained with a partner here named Kingfisher, a woman who would go on to be consumed by an undying ape. The lore runs deep here. Let's talk about it. This is the Great Serpent, a god of the land.
First, I hate the serpent. I really hate this big snake. I am scared of huge snakes, but I never knew that our sculptor was a shinobi. In the end, I think he said it. But I never knew that I was not realizing that. I was not really realizing that he was a shinobi. But I think he told it so often. I was just not realizing that. And crazy. That's so much like Gunfort. Gunfort was one of my I hated Gunfort. Gunfort was so useless for me. But it had a lot of lore, I think, there.
Or so the Sunken Valley clan believe. They don't just worship the snake. Rather, they worship the heart, for the heart is believed to be where one's spirit resides. They enshrine the organs, believing that they represent the deity itself. And with 2 hearts, you can initiate the Dragon's Return ending, an ending that has the divine child of the rejuvenating waters become a cradle for the dragon's blood, which allows the Sakura dragon to leave Japan. For when the Sakura dragon came from the west and took root in Ashina, many lesser gods left, and the serpent god was almost certainly one of them. Look ahead to Mibu village for proof. Here we find scraps of snake skin caught upon rooftops and dangling from the gates. And it may not have just been the serpent god that left this place. Buddha, too, has been desecrated here as a result of the Sakura dragon. Furthermore, just as snake statues are found all throughout Senpo Temple, so too are Buddhist statues found within the Sunken Valley, home of the serpent god. These statues seem like they were intended to hold the 2 hearts of the great serpents. The first statue is cradling a snake skin, which likely belonged to the full-grown snake just beyond. The second heart, however, lies in a cave.
You there, don't go into that cave up ahead. Inside is an old shrine where the serpent god dwells. And if the serpent god swallows you, you can't buy any more offerings now, can you?
This dried heart might have belonged to an older serpent, a spirit that was passed from Buddha's hands to ours so that we can pursue the dragon's return. Food for thought. So those are the serpent god's hearts. But what about its eyes? The Snake Eyes are the commanders of the Sunken Valley clan. Female fighters equipped with flint cannons and blessed with phenomenal vision. As the eyes of the snake, they've positioned themselves at both entrances to the Sunken Valley, striking fear into any stranger who approaches. And not only do they watch out for the snake, those of the Sunken Valley also offer themselves to it in marriage. Well, marriage in quotation marks, because it really means to make an offering of oneself, such as their devotion to the serpent god. But when they're not feeding themselves to a snake, it's likely that the Sunken Valley clan is busy mining the precious metals of the valley. Magnetic deposits are found all over the valley, and their value is evident, for the Sunken Valley clan ended up concocting medicines to help them resist the toxic state of this place. And while it's said that those who stay here long enough can overcome their weakness to poison, 2 prominent women here are still devastated by it. These are the Snake Eyes, commanders of the clan, and they are no match for Sabimaru, your poisonous prosthetic.
I always heard that Kusabimaru, like the little knife that we got into the bottom of Ashina Castle, it should be so strong, it should be so OP that it's literally like bothering people.
Kodachi blade. And there's a reason for this. For the blade reads, Sabimaru was wielded in wars of old, and is a national treasure of Ashina. It was once used to drive off the inhuman Okami warrior women, and even now it is likely to be effective against their descendants. The Snake Eyes are descendants of the ancient Okami clan. Okami means dragon, and it's likely referring to the clan of carp-like beings that you find in Fountainhead Palace, because long ago, in the most ancient days of the Ashina, this Okami clan gathered the Fountainhead fragrance and arrived at the palace. They pledged themselves to the Sakura serpent, making ceremonial blood offerings to it, which is an act that is not unlike what the Sunken Valley clan did. They too offer themselves in marriage to the serpent god. The difference is, while one clan dances joyously in a divine realm, the other clan sits sullenly atop the frozen, poisonous cliff face of the Sunken Valley. One incredibly neat detail is that the Okami women are master marksmen. They have this godlike accuracy with the bow, lightning bolt, and soccer ball. Just so their descendants too can also hit their targets from half a league away, still using ranged weapons just like their ancestors, except now, ones that have been adapted for the modern age. There are some benefits to being left behind, it seems. And that's a point of contention, whether they were left behind or not. And it's something I found myself going back and forth on the entire time I've been scripting this. There are two options that I see, and the question is this. Was the Sunken Valley clan left behind when the rest of their clan ascended, staying loyal to the serpent god, whereas the Okami went on to worship the Sakura dragon? Or did the Okami ascend to the divine realm and then return, with some serpent-worshipping descendants going on to settle in the Sunken Valley? And make no mistake, the Okami clan did eventually come back, that is a fact, after they ascended to the divine realm. They brought the thunder with them, invading Ashina and killing its people. The game calls this an old war. It's a long-forgotten event, so it's no surprise that the details are scarce. We don't even know why they invaded, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But what we do know is that the Okami were eventually repelled by Sabimaru, an heirloom forged by the Ashina. This weapon held the poisonous gift of blue rust, which was kryptonite to the Okami warriors. The context of this war changes, dependent on whether you believe that the Sunken Valley clan was left behind when the Okami ascended, or whether you believe the Sunken Valley clan came to exist after the Okami invaded and descended from the fountainhead. There's evidence for both ideas. I can't find one piece of evidence that makes it true beyond reason, so I'll tell you both stories, and you can decide what to believe. So first, the Sunken Valley clan may have come to exist as a result of the Okami's failed invasion. The green mossy gourd says that it was made out of necessity by those that made poisonous lands their home. It said that if you live there long enough, eventually poison won't affect you at all. If the Okami were indeed bitter at being defeated by poison, then perhaps they wish to overcome this weakness over generations of exposure. Alternatively, it's also fair to believe that the Sunken Valley clan was left behind by the Okami clan when they ascended to the divine realm. If this was the case, then they would have learned about their weakness to poison from living in the valley all this time, and they may have helped the Ashina forge Sabimaru when the Okami came back and invaded. Sabimaru was gifted with poisonous blue rust, after all, and there is evidence of an alliance between the Sunken Valley clan and Ashina. Many of the Sunken Valley man the watchtowers of the Ashina, and the key to their Gunfort shrine is even kept in the private quarters of the Ashina elite. Together, the Ashina and the Sunken Valley clan may well have repelled the inhuman Okami. I like this theory more. The Ashina called the Okami.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. The first one sounds a little bit better. First one sounds way better than the second theory.
Clan inhuman, and while you would assume that that means that they invaded in their carp-like state, they may not have, for Sabimaru calls them spirits, and this scroll of an old battle calls them ghosts. Ghosts once lurked the lands of Ashina. The ghost's lightning was of the fountainhead gods, unstoppable by normal means. Whatever the case, the ancient Ashina were besieged by their lightning, and so in addition to Sabimaru, which was an offensive tool, they actually developed a few defensive measures as well. First was the art of lightning reversal, and there's a guide to how to perform it hung in their dojo, where their warriors train. And second was something called eel livers. Eels are relatives of dragons, and they allowed the Ashina to suppress the lightning force of the gods. Though admittedly this didn't work for very long. This drug is littered throughout Ashina Castle, and they even offered it ceremoniously at a couple of shrines.
Oh, wait, my night mode is turning on. I never knew that the eel is like ascendant of the dragon.
It's this remnant of an ancient war against the Okami. It's no surprise then that given all of this, the Ashina did come to consider lightning powers as heretical. Genichiro names them as such when he invokes the name of his master, Tomoe.
I will seize any manner of heretical strength.
Tomoe was also of the Okami. She descended via the floating passage, and she was this benevolent being who decided to live amongst the Ashina. Reflective of her clan, she likely taught Genichiro how to use that bow of his, and she also taught him the lightning arts that he would go on to practice
It makes
fervently.
sense.
She would eventually sacrifice everything for a boy named Takeru, a boy cursed with the dragon's heritage, but that story is one for another time. We follow the notes that Takeru and Tomoe left us, and they, in turn, are following the knowledge that was left by Tomoe's relatives, the Okami clan, when they first ascended to the divine realm. This is knowledge that guides us towards the fountainhead fragrance, which requires us to attain the lotus of the palace, which grows where the fountainhead waters pool deeply. On our way to said lotus, we travel through the Bodhisattva Valley, the place where the monkeys dwell, and fruits hidden by monkeys in tree hollows can sometimes ferment and turn into sake with a bit of luck.
Ah, it burns the throat, same as ever. This really brings back memories. I trained in the techniques of the shinobi, in the valley where the monkeys dwelled.
By yourself?
No. There were two of us. We were rogue shinobi. There was no proper master for the likes of us. That's why we went to the valley. To run, to jump, to clash swords. Where one slip would mean your doom. That was how we trained. We came to move exactly as monkeys did after a time. I drink this monkey booze whenever I tired of training. And I'd listen to the howl of my partner's whistling finger while I drank. Whistling through that ring would fill the valley with a somber melody. Strangely enough, I enjoyed that sound.
The sculptor's partner was called Kingfisher, a name that was etched onto her ring. Her cry could once be heard all along the waterfront of the sunken valley, and her whistle could be used to drive beasts wild. Speaking of which, this is the guardian ape, sitting in the cove where the fountainhead waters pool.
What the heck, I never
It's
knew that his
cultivating
face was
this
looking like
lotus to give to its mate, for the ape actually lost his previous partner, whose corpse you find hidden away in an alcove. It's been so long since he lost her, though, that even the flowers offered in tribute to her passing have withered to dust.
I
The
never knew
ape
this.
is immortal. This is thanks to the centipede, which emerges when you sever the ape's head, using this gigantic sword that likely once belonged to the sculptor's training partner, the Kingfisher. It's an incredible weapon, but it's no mortal blade, and within the immortal ape's belly, we find the Kingfisher's ring.
What's that you have there? Where did you get that finger?
The guardian ape of the sunken valley. I found it in his belly.
I see. To think it was in the belly of an ape. I'm sure it'll play a somber but enjoyable tune. Make sure you use it well.
If she is indeed
It's the thing, the prosthetic that we got. I totally forgot that we had that prosthetic.
dead, then the loss of this woman could have been what first led the sculptor to become Shura. For when the sculptor turns again at the end of the game, you can use the Kingfisher's ring to play a somber tune, a weeping voice full of solitude and beauty, somber enough to temporarily quell a voice of rage.
It's like ghosts
With
in
the
gas coin.
Kingfisher avenged, we can claim the Lotus of the Palace, putting us one step closer to the fountainhead fragrance. Next, we travel to Ashina Depths, to this bottomless hole, to the hidden forest, and to Mibu Village. Remember to hit the notification bell so you
Mibu Village was weird. Mibu Village was so weird.
don't miss when the video goes live, and I'll see you next time.
Now so many things are coming. Okay, there are only like two other videos working on. They're not so long, so we can do that. Wow, so many things. That is crazy when you think about it. Like, there was some weird blue stone in Ashina for some reason. And then the divine dragon came there. Maybe... always when like outer gods are getting somewhere, there's something that they want to get, you know? Maybe they were like trying to get that stone. That's why you know, it's like kryptonite. When you have kryptonite, you want to like secure it as fast as possible. That's why the Okami also got like damaged by that stone. So maybe that's why the divine dragon actually came to the Sakura dragon. I mean, came to Japan in the first place. Yes, very very scary. Next one. Mibo village. It's like the village with all of those fish people that we saw. I don't know if they were fish people.
Shinobi, have you ever heard someone playing the shamisen around here? I followed the sound and it led me to this well. It's faint, carried by the wind. It's coming from this hole. You hear it, do you not?
I hear nothing.
I see. Perhaps I alone can hear it. Ah, nothing else matters.
I need to get something to drink, okay? I'm going to be back in a second. What? Oop. Wow. So there were like two missions. I was inserting water. In other words, I drank it and I released water.
Matters. I must follow that melody. It truly stirs my soul.
This sound winds upwards from an ancient, decrepit village. It's a village hidden by the mists that coil in a forest deep below the earth. Only the devoted, or the exiled, can find it now.
Will you be cast out, or throw yourself in?
What?
If you wish to go to the very depths of Ashina, then you'd best cast yourself out.
It's hard to know what the lives of the ancient Ashina were like, save that they lived on land that was coveted by many. The gate before this jump is a Tori gate, which marks the transition from the mundane to the sacred. And the land below is indeed sacred. So sacred, in fact, that the water, rocks, and soil here in Mibu village once attracted the attention of the gods. One of the gods worshipped here was likely the serpent god, as its skin is found throughout the village, and another was likely Buddha, a deity friendly with the serpent god.
Every time when there's like something to get the gods, they are getting there. Always. You cannot do it without like godly intervention.
Whose statue can be found desecrated in the main temple. Then, far away to the west, some event caused the Sakura dragon to be cut free from its homeland. It drifted to the east, to Japan, where it found the fertile depths of Ashina. Then it settled here, conjuring a divine realm, usurping the lesser gods, and tearing the fate of Mibu village in half. It seems like a lucky few would have immediately become citizens of the palace, these nobles. But that also means that most Mibu had to simply content themselves with the divine waters that began flowing through their village. These waters bestowed a ton of bounties upon the Mibu, bounties that were distributed throughout all of Ashina. Dragon Spring Sake, a drink that no words can do justice. Mibu balloons, orbs of water that were sealed with bountiful prayers, and even magnificent medicines good enough to be stored in this chest, apparently created by Dogen, the famous doctor. And yet, for all the perks that were offered by its proximity, the divine realm still lay tragically out of reach, until the Okami clan arrived in Mibu village. This group of warrior women, technically called the Kura Okami clan, were among the first to figure out how to ascend. They did this by accruing 3 ingredients that they knew were stemming from the fountainhead, and they created incense with them. The first ingredient was the stem of a sakura tree, for even to this day, a sakura blooms in Mibu village. It might even be an everblossom. And the Mibu have prayed with the power of sakura for the longest time. The second ingredient was the fragrance of a flower that thrives in the deepest waters of the fountainhead. They called it a lotus of the palace. And lastly, they offered a shelter stone, which is something that grows inside the body of one who has long drank from the fountainhead waters. It's a lot like these cancer-like grave wax lumps that manifest in all of the undead in the game. And these shelter stone rocks too can appear in the bodies of those who drink from these immortal waters. And wrapped in the fountainhead fragrance, the Okami ascended to the palace. Here, like the palace nobles before them, they too could drink of the purest waters, beginning this transformation into lithe, carp-like beings. And as this journey to the fountainhead entered the realm of possibility, a culture of Dragon Spring pilgrimage began to emerge.
What year is it?
What year? An odd question.
Tell me.
It's the year of the Dragon Spring pilgrimage.
Every few years, those seeking to join the wedding procession would journey to Mibu, drawn to the village by black pine trees, which were set aflame with a fire that never went out. If you could pass a test, then you were able to join a procession that led all the way to the wedding chamber, a place that we know gives you the chance at admission to the Divine Palace. And the founder of Mibu Village states that the goal of this procession was to meet the Divine Dragon, and for this, participants were required to master the secret Mibu breathing technique, which allows one to breathe underwater.
Swimming.
Without this, the dragon cannot be met, and my best guess is that breathing underwater somehow facilitates a transformation into becoming a noble of the palace. You're basically becoming a fish, after all. And
yeah, the gate was like underwater to get like to the Divine Dragon.
perhaps this is why we find so many upturned legs underneath Mibu Lake. Failed practice at breathing underwater, perhaps? Or perhaps they burrowed underground looking for slugs. Hear me out, because all over the village we find a sort of slug harvest. They're on boards, they're piled up on the ground where the Mibu are digging, they're everywhere, and they might even be valuable. If they're the same type as those found in the Precious Bait tooltip, because this is food that was given to the Master Carp that was found at Fountainhead Palace. This would be a good example of an item that the Mibu could have brought to the palace for trade, because there was trade between the Divine Realm and the Ashina. Our proof is in the dragon's tally board, a sort of idol that was given to merchants who were recognized as of dragon rank by the Imperial Palace. All was going well, but then war. The Okami suddenly,
Sorry.
and without cause, it seems, descended upon Ashina. They did
that's what
battle
the-
with its people, and they put an end to any goodwill that did exist between the two lands. All records of this war call it long forgotten, so we have no idea what triggered this animosity. Perhaps the nobles began to age and began craving the vitality of the Ashina. Maybe the dragon began to get sick. Or I wonder if the Okami simply became ambitious. Whatever it was, we know that it was almost certainly initiated by the Fountainhead because it came at little cost to them. Because even though their assault was eventually repelled by the poison of Sabimaru, it's unlikely that the Okami ever descended in their physical forms. The hanging scroll of an old battle hung
the
in
ghost
Ashina
thingies.
Dojo speaks of lightning-wielding ghosts that once lurked in the lands of the Ashina, and this is a description that can fit the Okami. These women wield lightning, which is a power of the divine dragon, and there are 3 known instances of the Okami projecting apparitions down
Oh
upon
my
the
God,
physical
yeah,
realm.
the
The first is
corrupted
that
monk.
of Orin of the water. If you're wondering why we count her as of the Okami, well, it's because her ghostly form is actually weak to the poison of Sabimaru, which is effective against the Okami. This is important information to know because you're not getting past this shamisen player without a fight.
Why are you crying?
Because I'm sad.
What are you sad about?
I don't know where Lord Sakusa is, or what he's doing. It breaks my heart. If I can't see him, I'd at least like to know. But no matter how many letters I send, he never writes me back. And no one will tell me where he is. Actually, sir, can you tell me? Where is Lord Sakusa?
Please
I
tell
don't
me.
know.
Please tell me.
You're a liar, too. Why must everyone hide him from me?
You're probably sitting there waiting for me to explain Orin's lore, but honestly, it's tough. There are no other references to Lord Sakusa in the game, save for one, this item description of Jinza's Jizo statue, which Jinzaemon gives to you at the end of his journey.
I must give you my thanks, Shinobi.
Your thanks.
You brought the shamisen player to me just a moment ago. She caressed me while playing her sweet melody. It turns out she was calling to me this whole time. Shinobi, please, take this. I'm so very tired now.
This statue was once given to Lord Sakusa, and assumedly this was by Orin of the Water. Somehow it ended up in Jinzaemon's hands, and my best guess is that Lord Sakusa gave this statue to Jinzaemon's father because Jinzaemon's father does know about Mibu Village. He probably eventually passed this down to Jinzaemon with a warning. Never visit the ominous town hidden in the mists. The second apparition of the Okami is the corrupted monk, of course, whose nebula...
He just got like a cursed object from his father. Like, my man, my ex-wife is like calling me for like so long, but don't go there.
nebulous form guards the Mibu Village cave entrance. After the war, it's unlikely that any more marriage processions were being accepted at the palace, and this...
No, wait, what the heck? No, the father of Jinzaemon is not Lord Sakusa. He got like the statue from him. Oh, okay, I forgot. It's like he literally got a cursed object.
animosity becomes the simplest explanation for her threatening presence here. The third set of apparitions are the bandits, conjured by the Mist Noble in the Hidden Forest. This boss has usurped one of Buddha's temples, adorning it with a more homely feel, and he strings the poor monks up by their ankles.
Hey, you.
Will you slay he who opposes Buddha? The one of whom I speak hides in an abandoned temple up ahead. He sealed away the village in a shadowy fog, so that he can fool the villagers. I've gotten terribly old, but this old man would like to see Lord Buddha return to his temple once more.
The most curious reveal of this dialogue is that the Mist Noble seeks to seal the village away to fool the villagers. I'm pretty sure I know what fooling the villagers means, because by sealing away the village, you're essentially maintaining this status quo in Mibu Village, preventing the Buddhist monks from returning to the village and keeping the village isolated from the world. But the manipulation of the villagers goes even further.
Basket, basket, basket,
The basket guy.
basket. I am a basket.
This basket case is named Shosuke, one of the few who actually resisted the temptation of drinking the now stagnant water of the fountainhead.
What is wrong with this village?
I'd sure like to know that too. Before I knew it, everyone had gone insane. For a while, I too was in a daze, but I snapped out of it after I threw up. I was thirsty, so I drank a lot of sake. I'm sure that's what made me throw up. The head priest sometimes treats us to sake, but you know, when you drink sake, you get thirsty. The sake cask runs dry in no time, so everyone has no choice but to drink the water in the ponds and rivers. But the more you drink it, the thirstier you get. You get thirstier and thirstier, can't ever drink enough.
The water here was obviously once very pure, but now it's stagnant, and something's wrong with it. It is, of course, very similar to the rejuvenating waters of Ashina, as the villagers who drink this become undying, because when you kill one villager, the very same villager resurrects a few moments later, confirming that the villagers are in fact undying, and on top of that, they now have this undying fear of fire, which is also in line with Ashina's rejuvenating water.
An unquenchable fire. Even now, the thought of it gives me chills. The hunter Inuhiko started burning pine resin and locked himself in his house. His pine resin burns a long time. It's a real nuisance.
The villagers previously destroyed these black pines that were guiding people to the village, but now it seems like a man named Inuhiko defended those pines and hoarded their ever-burning resin. For this, the water-drinking villagers came to loathe him, and they hide in the earth outside his home, just waiting for him to come out.
Inuhiko is the village outcast. He likes eating wild animal meat in the sword. That's why the head priest doesn't give him any sake.
The head priest is holed up inside the main temple, and he's hoarding what is almost certainly sake from the dragon spring.
Yes, I can feel it. Dissolving, liquefying. Oh, the cup has run dry. But this won't do. It's too dilute. Refuses to dissolve completely. Unfit to be citizens of the palace. Oh.
In the Fountainhead Palace, you can find this pure water of the palace, which was a drink that once visitors to the palace were greeted with when they arrived. It transforms the priest into a noble, confirming three things. First, that humans can become nobles. Second, that those with red robes are high-ranking head priests. And third, the fact that he drops carp scales confirms that the nobles of the palace are, in fact, carp-like in form, explaining Mibu's affinity for slugs, and also explaining the worship of the great carp up above. As I tie this episode up, some of you might be saying, "Hey Vardy, why don't you talk about the giant rope creature at the end of Mibu Village?" But technically it also appears in the Fountainhead as well, so until then, afraid not. If you can forgive that pun, then consider checking out the new merch below the video.
Yeah, it's really nice merch.
or a black
Want to buy something, but no, it's too expensive for me.
and white line art. And sales
But
from
it's
this
beautiful.
also directly
It's,
support the artist
beautiful.
John Devlin as well, who recently had some of his art put on merchandise and sold without his permission. So it's a pleasure to be able to give the guy some legitimate sales in return. And it's really fun to create merchandise that you might feel proud of wearing. So please, if you're running low on t-shirts, or maybe you need a hoodie to keep you warm in the winter, then consider the Fate of Kings. And I'll see you in the next one.
Wow. Beauties. Beauties. This episode was very, very short. This was very, very short. I was already thinking like, why was the water so weirdly? But I had to think like 4 seconds later and was like, oh wait. It's really the fountainhead water. It wasn't really the fountainhead water. I didn't realize that. Mibu Village was really, really screwed up. The poor dudes. What was in the beginning again? I forgot. Yeah, it was just... Yeah! It was just the Okami and stuff like that. So it was a really short one. Okay.
This giant...
There's chapters right now. Okay, crazy. It's the last one. Maybe we can watch the next episode 2 with the 10 folklore thingies.
Giant rope creature perplexed us all as he sort of dabbed us onto the cliff before the Fountainhead Palace. While it's mentioned in no item descriptions, we can actually make an educated guess about what he represents. So let's tie a knot in it, once and for all. I'm so sorry about the pun. A shimenawa, or enclosing rope, is a length of hemp or rice straw that's commonly found woven around torii gates, Shinto shrines, and also sacred landmarks. They're here to act as a sort of ward against evil spirits, or to indicate passage into a pure, sacred space. Quite a few of these exist in-game. For example, there's the gate right before the valley that houses the sacred serpent god, and since the divine dragon looks about 20 times as divine as the serpent god, I guess they needed a bigger rope for the divine realm. Blocking our way to said realm, however, is the real corrupted monk, a warrior woman who guards the Vermilion Bridge. So, one thing that marks female warriors as of the Okami clan is a vulnerability to Sabimaru's poison. She doesn't have that vulnerability, but what she does have is the signature laugh and movement of the Okami, which marks her as a part of their clan, but perhaps she's not a part of their bloodline. Anyway, she has some really fascinating additions to her character compared to the rest of the Okami. First and foremost, she's infested, hence she's immortal, and this happened to be a quality that the Fountainhead thought would be quite appropriate for an eternal watcher of their palace. Her true name is Priestess Yao, and this is a name that user Sarumaro on Reddit thinks is a reference to Yao Bikuni, a fisherman's daughter who became immortal after eating the flesh of a niño. And I completely agree with this theory.
The niño is
So, a niño is best translated to mermaid for those of us in the West, though more accurately it's described as a fish creature with shining scales, a humanoid face, and the mouth of a monkey. In the story of Yao Bikuni, she eats the flesh of the niño, and those who do so are said to be blessed with incredible longevity, and this is what happened to Yao Bikuni, who, in the story, went on to become a wandering immortal priestess. So there's clearly a parallel here to Priestess Yao, the corrupted monk, which leads me to believe that Priestess Yao may have eaten immortal niño flesh as well, because the divine dragon, in fact, is called the Niño Dragon in the game's hidden files, and related to the divine dragon through a Chinese legend are the great carp. The great carp are also a type of niño. They're a fish with human origins because the pot nobles all aspire to become a great carp.
If you ever happen across another pot like mine,
What is the
ignore
pot?
any requests he makes of you. He's the shame of our clan. He's a treasonous villain who attempted to kill the great carp for his own benefit.
Thus, there have been many great carp over the years, and
I never
you can
saw
find
this
their
guy.
corpses littering the Fountainhead lake bed. All of these rotting corpses are a sort of testament to the ambition, the backstabbing, and the desperation of the pot nobles to become eternal.
Soon, I'll be a carp, and as age withers you away, as you sit powerless in the face of eternity, I'll be the new great carp.
Curiously, one such corpse is infested with luminescent centipede creatures, which may well explain the infestation of Priestess Yao if she did indeed eat the Niño's flesh like her namesake did. So, this is a really strong theory, to think it could be this Japanese legend about eating the flesh of the Niño, which is the missing puzzle piece to us understanding where the infestation comes from. And at the very least, it is the Fountainhead rejuvenating waters that spread the infestation throughout all of Ashina, as many of the infested have clearly drank deeply of these waters. Near the infested corpse of the great carp is the fallen spirit of Yashariku, who haunts the bottom of the lake. So the headless are ruined forms of Ashina's heroes, and Yashariku in particular has a really interesting story. So he died to the palace nobles, but his spiritful states that he might not have had his twin been at his side. Alas, his twin was lost in childbirth, which goes on to explain why we lose half our health when using his item, and why a second apparition fights beside him below the lake. He was never quite whole, even after death. Much of the architecture below the lake has become uninhabitable thanks to the overflow of divine water, and there's no one here capable of rebuilding this because their civilization is now literally comprised of a warrior caste in the Okami and a noble caste with the palace nobles. And even more of their area is in the process of being destroyed by the great carp. So, placating the carp has become a necessity. This explains our slug harvest discussion in the last episode, and all of those slugs likely end up here in the hands of the great carp attendant.
My father is now a noble, and the moment he became one, he found himself entranced by a carp, the great carp. For a long, long time since, he's done nothing but feed that cursed carp. Young man, please release my father from the carp's bewitching powers. I know my father wouldn't wish for an eternity like that.
So their father became a noble in the lifetime of these two daughters. So it follows that these women might have been some of the last to come through here from Mibu village. They're the only remaining humans we find in this place.
Didn't realize
and they're so old now that they've basically become all but invisible to the palace nobles because they no longer have any youth to drain.
Young man, please be careful. The palace nobles have a craving for the vitality of youth. They can't help themselves. They want nothing but to sap away more and more of it.
For generations, wedding processions were led from Mibu village, leading to the divine realm, which was an honor that was bestowed only upon those who could master the Mibu technique of breathing underwater. And when they arrived, the wedding procession was allegedly given water of the palace, which can then turn you into a noble, and then you would be fit to become a citizen of the palace. Or were you? Because behind locked doors, in a dark room that leads up to the Fountainhead Peak, there are these red nobles of the palace, whose outfits likely denote their higher rank. And here, they feast upon the corpses of the Okami. And they do so while right behind them lie a set of white wedding palanquins. Palanquins that surely belonged to the wedding processions derived from Mibu village. And if they had no problem devouring their own kind, then they certainly wouldn't have a problem draining the life force of those coming from Mibu village.
Yeah, I was thinking that they were probably like sucked out after they got like their marriage thingy. Yeah, they would probably get sucked out.
And if they had no problem killing them, then the very least of their concerns would be the great carp attendant, who they tricked into performing a really undignified task.
You beasts. You tricked him all this time. Nobility this, and eternity that. Pretty lies to fool him. Give him back! Father! My father! Give him back!
So, as Fountainhead culture descended down a really dark path, it's no surprise that Tomoe and Takeru saw fit to leave. So these two are basically mirror images of Sekiro and Kuro. They're a divine child and their guardian, just like us, except that Tomoe and Takeru descended from the Fountainhead and then began to mingle with the Ashina elites.
Back then, Lord Genichiro and I would come here a lot. Lord Takeru would play the flute, and Lady Tomoe would dance under the Everblossom. It was a wonderful sight.
Note that just as Takeru played the flute of the palace nobles, so too did Tomoe dance like the Okami of the Fountainhead. It's a cool little detail.
That day beneath the branches of the Everblossom tree, Lady Tomoe tried to commit suicide.
Why?
She said those made immortal by the oath of the dragon's heritage shackle their masters.
So in order for the purification to occur, the oathbound of the dragon's heritage must die?
Yes, precisely.
Speaking of the Oathbound, one trait of those touched by the divine dragon appears to be this streak of white atop one's scalp. Sekiro has it, Kuro has it, Kuro 2.0 has it, hell, even the Okami warrior women have it, but none have it more than the purple-garbed lightning bearer atop the great Sakura tree. Her hair is pure white, perhaps a testament to the age of these eternal beings that were blessed by the divine dragon. And it bears mentioning that the actual name of the divine dragon in Japanese is the Sakura dragon, which is a name that suits it way better when you consider the nature of the Sakura tree. These cherry blossoms, if you didn't know, they only bloom for 1 week in an entire year. It's this period of exquisite beauty that sadly cannot last, but is all the more beautiful for it. To the Japanese, this symbolizes an acceptance of destiny, karma, and mortality, and this balance is really usurped and turned kind of unnatural in Sekiro because the Sakura here bloom permanently. And this is, of course, thanks to the Sakura dragon, who drifted here from the west, and he probably was lost until he discovered Japan, which luckily also had Sakura trees, and he decided to settle in this fertile land, which forced the lesser gods out. And I've spoken of these lesser gods before, since it's possible that the lesser gods are the serpent god and Buddha, who were once a part of this region. But I should really also be mentioning the white dragons of the tree, these wizened little dudes that also fit the description. Their faces can be found on the architecture of the palace. Thus, I think it's likely that they were actually here before the dragon took root. They are of the tree, after all, and I reckon these little gods were merged with the divinity of the Sakura dragon when he made their tree his own. And we mentioned the white hair of the Oathbound as well, something that is also seen with the old dragons. They have become this really sickly white. Literally too, because they are very sick. In contrast to the black dragons, these white dragons are a representation of dragon rot and the stagnation that's afflicting us all, and it's actually the act of killing these white dragons that purges the affliction from the tree, which causes it to blossom, which causes the Sakura dragon to rouse itself back to life. And the first thing we notice with the dragon is that it's terribly wounded.
Yeah,
and
it was looking
there are some
terrible.
interesting theories on this as well. So first, it could be wounded because it's showing the effects of dragon rot, or maybe it had these wounds before when it was cut free from the West and drifted to Japan. Or, an even better theory, it's possible that these wounds the dragon has mirror the wounds that we, Sekiro, and Kuro also have sustained. We are of the dragon's blood, after all, and just like the dragon has lost its left arm, we have as well. And just like the dragon has a gash on its chest, Kuro also cut himself with the mortal blade when he drew blood for the Fountain of Fragrance.
It's a little bit big.
Another really likely theory is that maybe it sustained these wounds during an earlier fight, and the best candidate for a fight against the Divine Dragon is Tomoe, who would have fought the dragon for its dragon's tears. And Tomoe may have also been the original owner of the second mortal blade, the Black Blade. It's easy to complete Sekiro without really realizing that the Black Blade exists, but it is a supremely important item for explaining the story. Its real name is Open Gate, a weapon with the power to open a gate to the underworld, which, if you didn't know, is what happens at the end of the game when Genichiro summons his grandfather back in his prime to defeat you. And its description has one final line, one that reads, "I beseech you, make offerings for the dragon's blood." This links the weapon to the Divine Dragon, and while it's the most sinister example of the Divine Dragon wanting an offering, it's not the only example of offerings. The Okami dance as an offering, the Mibu were brought here as marital offerings. Those of the Fountainhead had a practice of cutting spirit emblems from their flesh with a ceremonial knife. There's also a shrine maiden here who has passed away praying at the dragon's shrine. And then there's the Black Blade, which was allegedly used for offerings as well. And now let me explain why the Black Blade would have belonged to Tomoe. First, we know that Tomoe wanted to sever immortality, and for this, she needed the tears of the Divine Dragon. However, while the Black Blade could wound the Divine Dragon, it couldn't impart its tears, and for this she would need the red mortal blade, which is actually named the Gracious Gift of Tears. It's designed for this purpose, but unfortunately for her, it was hidden away by the Senpo High Priest, and no matter what Tomoe tried, she could not get him to reveal its whereabouts. And she did try to get it, which puts her at odds with the Divine Dragon. Second, those Tomoe was closest to in Ashina ended up knowing a lot about the Black Blade. A scroll describing it is left outside of Ishin's quarters. Genichiro trained under Tomoe and later managed to find the Black Blade. And Takeru wrote of beheading with the Mortal Blade, an act that Genichiro performs with the Black Blade at the end of the game. My point here is that Tomoe influenced the lives of so many people, and it's crazy to imagine that we might not learn more about her in the future. This series took a long time to make, so if you enjoyed it, please consider checking out vatividya.com, where you can find this ever-growing collection of Souls-inspired merch designs. Our latest piece is The Fate of Kings by John Devlin, available in red bronze or black and white line art. As a special promotion, if you enter code TSORG10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off, but only if you order in the next 2 days. Not many of you are still listening at this point in the video, but I gotta get something off my chest. This episode marks the end of the 5-part series, and this explains the majority of Sekiro's story. This was a really lore-heavy episode. I know not everyone can stick through these long, heavy episodes, but I'm actually quite proud of this series, which is rare for me to say, because I feel like this series uncovered a lot of lore that has never been written about online before, and I think this series will stand as a really good resource for people looking to uncover the deeper meaning that the game has. And the game does have a deeper meaning, obviously, you know that, but a lot of people don't know that because, unlike something like Dark Souls, people don't look for the deeper meaning in Sekiro because Sekiro already has a really obvious surface level story. But the depth is there, and it's good, and I hope you share it with some other people. So, I'm happy that I could bring some of that to light, and I'm happy that there's some of you who are still listening who clearly appreciate that story too. So, thank you for being a part of this.
Why I feel so hardcore attacked at the end. But yeah, it was crazy. Wait, I was not expecting it to end here. I was like, oh, there's like a next part, but I realized
It's no
like,
secret that From Software's game.
I realized like it was really like the last one. Okay, let's watch the last one. It's 10 Japanese secrets in Sekiro. It's like in this playlist and I don't know why. So let's just keep it there. There's like another thing. There's like the secret thingy in like Sekiro, but I don't think we can do it. There are a lot of secrets here. Like 15, 20 and 50 and no, 20 and another 50. That's like 100 almost. It's like 59. It's crazy. Oh, it's 100. No, it's 59. Okay, I cannot count anymore. Let's watch the last video and then it's finished. Yeah, I really loved the lore. The lore was so good. Many things are not like... Oh, everything was explained. Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that I don't like realize now is just the appearance of the divine dragon, why he actually got there and stuff like that. Like we know now that he was cut free, but why did he go to Japan? Was just drifting there? That's the question. How he actually got there and infested like the land. And when you think about it, they cradled the divine dragon back again, but doesn't he just come back like in the divine dragon ending? Okay, I don't know.
Games are heavily inspired. Dark Souls, for example, features many references to Kentaro Miura's Berserk. Bloodborne is undeniably inspired by Lovecraft. And, you know, even Slashy Souls is inspired by money. However, among all of their titles, none of them are actually more inspired or more present than Sekiro, which actually takes place within a real historical context. And it's brimming with references that will be understood by a Japanese audience, but
yeah, to be honest, this is also a story that is just like referencing like real life when you think about it. We are just in Japan. We are not like in the lands between. We are not like at, I don't know, Lothric Castle. We're literally just in Japan.
might pass over a Western one. So, sit back, relax, and let us contextualize some of the most fantastic stories within this game. One such story is that of the corrupted monk,
we already heard that.
The infested who guards the entrance to the Fountainhead Palace. While the game describes her immortality as this befitting quality for an eternal watcher of the palace, we never really learn how she became immortal. That is, until we consider the folklore she is likely inspired by. The corrupted monk's true name is Priestess Yao, a likely reference to the legend of Yao Bikuni. So, as the tale goes, a fisherman once caught this unusual fish, and he decided to invite his friends around to sample its meat. However, one of the guests peered into the kitchen while
I know
the
this.
meal
Wait, I know this. Didn't the dude got drunk?
Was being prepared, and he noticed that the fish had a human face. He warned the others not to eat it, and instead they wrapped their portion of fish in paper and took it home with them. But one man, who was drunk on sake, he forgot to throw his piece away, and he gave it instead to his daughter. The next morning, he freaked out, but the girl had appeared to suffer no ill effects at all, so he thought nothing of it. But over time, she tragically began to outlive everybody around her. It turns out the fish was a niño, a sort of mermaid, and its flesh had imparted immortality to the daughter, who eventually became known as Yao Bikuni, the 800-year-old Buddhist priestess. This is a perfect example of how folklore can deepen our understanding of Sekiro, because the corrupted monk is infested with centipedes, and centipedes are the thing that impart immortality in Sekiro. So the implication is that Priestess Yao can trace her immortality to the carp that's infested with centipedes below Fountainhead Lake, just like Yao Bikuni traces her immortality to the Niño.
to a fish.
The Corrupted Monk is not the only warrior monk we see in-game, and in fact we get to see and fight a great deal of them at Senpo Temple upon Mount Kongo. While this area is a part of Ashina, and the monks are known to interact with Ashina on occasion, these people are sort of a more separate group rather than trusty vassals of the state. Indeed, similar warrior monk groups actually existed in medieval and feudal Japan. They emerged during the Heian period, fueled by really fundamental disagreements on Buddhist teachings between temples. And at first, these warrior monk groups cared for nothing but fighting one another, yet with the flow of time, they began to accumulate power as well. The Genpei War even saw commanders giving presents to temples as an attempt to get these warrior monks to fight on their side. And that, however, only lasted until the end of the Sengoku period, where Tokugawa Ieyasu and Oda Nobunaga saw warrior monks as a threat to the government. So they were the first to
Wait, what? Okay, I'm like destroyed by pop culture. Oda Nobunaga was a real person? Shit! Shiitake mushroom! Okay, I already was thinking about that, but I was never sure if Oda Nobunaga was really a real person. I know that this other dude, what was his name? There was another swordsman who was so what was his name? Something with I knew that like Musashi, Miyamoto Musashi, I think was his name, was real, but I thought like Oda Nobunaga was a pop culture creature. Technically, unluck.
directly oppose them. As a result of Tokugawa's efforts, warrior monks ceased to exist by the time he became shogun in the 17th century.
Oh, Tokugawa.
And speaking of Tokugawa and his administration, the Interior Ministry in Sekiro is likely the greatest threat that the land of Ashina has ever seen. In the final act of the game, we see the Ministry's warriors cutting through the samurai of Ashina as if they were nothing, exterminating pretty much everybody who stands in their way.
It was so scary.
And yet, while the words Interior Ministry is thrown around a lot, the question of who stands behind the actions of the Interior Ministry is never raised or never answered. However, there are certain hints that the in-game Interior Ministry are warriors of real-life Tokugawa Ieyasu, which is evidenced by several things. First, the emblems on their armor. They look really similar to the Tokugawa family crest. And the Red Troops, the Akazone, was an elite group under the command of one of Tokugawa's generals in real life. And as for the ministry itself, we should note that the Japanese word naifu does not actually even mean interior ministry. Instead, it means interior minister, which was a government title in Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu was actually an interior minister during the final years of the Sengoku era. Thus, we can conclude that the Ashina clan might not be fighting an organization, but rather a man. And that man was most likely Tokugawa. This, in my opinion, is a bit of a missed opportunity to have a concrete antagonist for the forces of the Ashina.
Because when you think about it, it was really hard for me to like, for a lore stupid person to realize who the Interior Ministry even were, because there was not like a huge, big like antagonist there. There were just like people having war. I was like, okay, it's a land. I was thinking the Interior Ministry was just too big, so big that it was actually not like it had no leader. It was just the force, and Ashina's just this small little thing that it was not like conquered yet. When you think about it. So that's why I was thinking like, oh wow, Genichiro's actually pretty smart, because that looked like an Ashina's like screwed up. I was thinking like War Japan was just Interior Ministry and Ashina was just this little small thing. What was still left. But yeah, it would be nice to have
instead
someone
of
there.
just the shadowy Interior Ministry. Now that we've talked about Ashina's enemies, let's move on to their great hero.
Sword Saint.
Ishin's title, the Sword Saint, is not just this fancy turn of phrase, it's actually an existing honorary title that was given only to the best of swordsmen. One of such saints in real life is Ito Itosai Kagehisa, who might have even served as an inspiration for Ishin. Little is known of Ito, except that he was an outstandingly skilled combatant, proficient with both sword and spear, and skilled to such an extent that many actually considered his powers supernatural. But here's the main thing. One of the fundamental principles of Ito's techniques was musoken, which is reacting to the enemy's attack, not as this conscious effort, but instead reacting spontaneously without thinking. Musoken is similar to Mushin, a technique that shares its name with the Mushin esoteric text, developed by Ishin himself in-game. So these two are also similar, in the sense that both of them actually named sword techniques after themselves. Ito developed the Ito Ryu, which is the one-stroke school, and Ishin developed a combat art called One Mind. A final detail is that Ito's sword was also made by sword makers from the Ichimonji school, which obviously bears the same name as this combat art in-game.
Probably very inspired, to be honest. But how you could not get inspired, like in literally from the country where you're living in?
A legendary combatant in the world of Sekiro is Tomoe. She may not be present during the events of the game, yet there's no doubt that she had a huge influence on this world. Genichiro was her student, and Ishin was her admirer, and I think she was undoubtedly inspired by Tomoe Gozen, a legendary figure who is just as much of an enigma as her in-game counterpart. So we don't know much about her. We don't know who her parents were, we don't know where and when she was born, and some scholars even doubt whether she existed at all. But the only thing true to all records is that she was a certified badass. Tomoe Gozen is described as an accomplished archer and a mounted warrior, a woman who was prepared to confront both demons and gods, a warrior equal to 1,000 men. She served her master loyally until he ordered her to leave his side during his final battle. This was either done out of fear that Tomoe's death would be more glorious than his own, or maybe because he wanted her to spread word of his fate. We don't know much about what happened in this legendary situation, just as we don't know much about what Tomoe's life was like after that.
Legendary Japanese woman.
Tomoe was of the Okami, and the center of worship for the Okami was the Sakura dragon from the West. And the West is a really broad term, and while most people, including me, speculate this to mean that the origins are from China in the West, there is also evidence that the
me choir, like screaming what? The divine dragon is from America! No, it's the American dragon, not China. You all knew it. You tried to doubt it. No, it's this dragon came out of America.
The dragon could be of Korean origin, another place to the west. So the first fact supporting this is that Eastern countries all had a tendency to...
I have such a thing. It's completely like unrelated now, but you guys probably have it too. You know a little bit of past from Japan. A little bit at least. You can say me like 2 facts or something like that. You can tell me like past things from China. Even if it's only one thing. What happened in the past in Korea?
To perceive dragons as water-themed creatures, and Koreans in particular believed that dragons could control rain, fog, lightning, and thunder. Another argument is that the sword the dragon is carrying heavily resembles the...
Yeah, oh, oops, I muted it. 7-branch sword. Ooh. I was wondering what thing this thing was hitting us. It was just like a tree.
Which is actually one of Japan's national treasures. According to the historical documents and the inscription on the blade, this sword was a gift Japan's ruler received from an ancient Korean monarch. Geographically, Korea is also situated to the west of Japan, so Korea could be the home we return to return the dragon's blood in the end.
It's not even
As for the
so
dragons
far away. Let's just infest Korea with this dragon. Let's go.
In Japanese mythology, there's a dragon god of rain in the Shinto pantheon, that shares its name with the Okami clan, Okami no Kami, or Kura Okami, a legendary deity of rain and snow. However, there actually exists another version of this legend where this dragon split into two different deities, Taka Okami no Kami, dragon god of mountaintops, and Kura Okami no Kami, the dragon god of valleys. So these two, in this alternate legend,
like the snake and the dragon,
are one and the same, both of them together presiding over rain. And these two align really well, as you can guess, with the in-game divine dragon, who presides over mountaintops, and the serpent god, who presides in the valleys. In-game, this dragon and the serpent are also linked by their followers, seeing as the Sunken Valley clan are descendants of the Okami. Additionally, this might also explain why the serpent's viscera is required to create the...
Yeah, for some reason, like, dragons and snakes are very, like, connected with each other.
Cradle to escort the divine dragon's heritage back to the west. These two creatures are linked, and it kind of makes sense that they might be two sides of the same whole, just like in the Japanese legend. It's worth noting that snakes and dragons in Japanese folklore were mostly interchangeable with one another, in the sense that often one version of a legend would have a dragon in it, and just as often the same legend would feature a serpent. Thus, the connection between the divine dragon and the serpent god may be deeper than it first appears to a Western audience.
I feel like a ginormous sweep. A ginormous sweep. Mukai.
Another source of immortality in Sekiro, besides the dragon's heritage, are centipedes that too have a certain place in Japanese culture. So while dragons were highly revered, centipedes on the other hand were never popular among the Japanese people. They were seen as impure, polluted animals associated with death and even regarded...
That was the fact that I already told. Okay, I have to flex now. I was saying, like, in the past, like, I am scared of centipedes for some reason, like, people associate them with death.
as yokai, malevolent spirits. And while the game never presents us with a direct confrontation...
I was knowing it, to be honest, from another game. I don't know what game it was. But I watched, like, a floor video like this, kinda, from that game. It was something Asian to... What was it again? I don't know anymore. But, yeah, I actually only know those facts because of another lore video.
Confrontation between the divine dragon and the centipedes, there is a Japanese folktale called Tawara Toda, which features...
And somebody told me... Okay, sorry, I'm stopping so often. And somebody told me that, like, there's, like, this common fact in this world that, like, centipedes are killing snakes all the time. I don't know if it just was in my hometown, but centipedes are, like, they hate snakes. They're like mortal enemies.
So, a man named Fujiwara was on a journey when he noticed a giant serpent blocking his way. First, he was startled, but then he eventually plucked up his courage and walked on the serpent's back until he crossed to the other side. The great serpent, impressed by the man's courage, then reappeared before the man in his true form, that of a dragon king. He requested the man's aid with killing his enemy, the centipede living on Mount Mikami, and Fujiwara agreed. Battling the monster, however, proved difficult. The hero shot one arrow, then another, and yet neither arrow hurt the beast even a little bit. He then remembered one of the centipede's greatest weaknesses, human saliva. Fujiwara spat on his arrow, shot it right onto the beast's eye, and it fell dead. It's a great missed opportunity that no similar mechanic made it into the game.
Spitting on you.
A common host for the centipedes in-game are the infested monks that we see in Senpo Temple, whose infestation has become a symbol of worship. These monks' design was almost definitely inspired by the real-life Buddhist monks who actually underwent a process called Sokushin Butsu, a process of self-mummification in which they would actually...
Oh, that is so scary, to be honest. The monks, like in Laos, they're doing like the same. They're like not eating, and they're no, not in Laos. Sorry, in Thailand. I don't know. In some of those two, but they're not eating. They're just not moving. Probably some of you people know there's this guy who's holding his hand and standing in the same place like every single day. It's something like this. And it's terrifyingly how like determined they're doing it without any like people restraining them. It's just them. It's crazy.
Actually mummify their own bodies while they were still alive. In order to succeed in this, a monk should first follow a really strict diet. They eliminated all of the fat in their bodies, and then he had to also stop consuming any type of liquid so that his organs would shrink and he would begin to mummify. The monks would die, reciting a mantra over and over again, perpetuating themselves in a meditating pose. This practice was popular in a mountain-dwelling version of Buddhism called Shugendo, and, in fact, there is a checkpoint named Shugendo in the mountainous parts of Senpo Temple.
I remember.
The last secret for today will be about one of the first NPCs we meet in-game, the Sculptor. As we learn from conversations with Emma, his old nickname from his shinobi times was Orangutan. Hanbei, one of the sculptor's friends, actually calls him Sekijo, which is a play on the Japanese word for orangutan, which is shoujo. A shoujo is synonymous with being a heavy drinker, a meaning that originated in a play. In the play, shoujo are presented as this race of intelligent spirits, with long, shaggy red hair and an extreme fondness for sake. This video was written with the help of Zerail, who you can learn more about in the description. She taught me and so many of us about Japanese culture and history, so if you're interested, you can actually go read more of her posts over on Reddit. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Sekiro. Sekiro was so popular that people from the past reenacted it. I did not imagine at all. That was crazy, man. Oh, it's over. It's over double. No.
Sekiro's new.
I want to see more. Why is this 1 hour? Why is this video so long? Oh, it's the Gauntlet of Strength. Yeah, the Gauntlet of Strength is something like boss rush with more like difficulties. I was actually looking after what content there is still like in Sekiro. And of course there are like different endings that we didn't had, and this Gauntlet of Strength was there too. But now I'm not going to do it. This game is over for me, and I only want to understand it a little bit, so I'm not going to touch it again. And there's no DLC, so it's over. It's so sad. Oh, let's go back. Ah, that was refreshing again. That was very, very refreshing, to be honest. Oh, sorry. I love lore videos. Lore videos are one of my favorite ones when it comes to like after game thingies. Sometimes it really helps to watch the lore before you're playing the game. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. It depends on the lore video, but he really, Vati, is really doing a great job in like not spoiling you too much, I think. You still get too many information sometimes, but it's so good. I was here. You were here the entire time, thank you so much. Oh, here were a lot of people the entire time. What the heck, okay. I hope you all enjoyed me watching Sekiro lore, even though I was enjoying myself. It was so interesting like in the beginning. I tried to understand because it was way too hard to think about it. Like different like people, it was scary. But it was pretty like, it was in comparison to other Souls likes, it's pretty easy. It's way harder than Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 1. But when you compare it to like, I don't know, all the other ones like Bloodborne is very complicated. Bloodborne was so complicated, to be honest. I was thinking like, what? It's still nice, And yeah, the genres, they are so incredibly good. Just imagine with our Dark Souls, like here in the middle of nowhere, like everything is dead. Now we have Sekiro. Sekiro is so beautiful. I love like all the just the entire look. Look at me, I'm literally a massive weeb. I love something like that. And all the enemy designs and things like that were just so cool. And now we have like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the most basic thing that I ever saw when it comes to like style. Just Dark Souls plus. And yeah, then we have Bloodborne, like the H.P. Lovecraft thing. It's so good, so many genres. And we don't have to talk about Armored Core because it's not Souls-like. Should I play it? Sekiro? What was that? Did you saw this on my left? That was like glitching. I don't know. You all should play Sekiro, of course. And you can do it because you have my Steam library. I'm not playing that often. If you have like the time for it, you can play it every time. It's on my Steam. No one is holding you off, but to be honest, yeah, it was pretty cool. There's nothing negative in Sekiro, but I don't know if it's like the game for you. I don't really know. I don't know if you enjoy things like that, you know. That's why I'm a little bit confused. Of course, it's just good. It's really just good. When you're stuck, you cannot get stuck as you cannot get so stuck as me, like searching for what I was searching for Ishin for like 11 hours, for like 1 to 3 hours. And then I was at Gunfort, and I was at Mount Congo, and I did those 2 things before I even had to get there. And I know like this one instance where Kuro, like the young master, was asking me like, okay, well, we need something that can destroy, like can damage me. I need the mortal blade. Then was Ishin like, okay, yeah, the mortal blade is at Mount Congo. Then I only had to walk there. I only had to walk there and make the little falling screen monkeys. I got stuck in Elden Ring. I never get stuck in Elden Ring, even though I know a little bit about the story. I never got stuck there because like the graces, they are literally leading you. But yeah, it's an open world game, of course, but Sekiro is like linear. It's very linear. I missed so much. I missed so much in like Sekiro. But when you're playing it, when you're at the ending, you have to tell me there are different endings. I have to see it. I saw another. I think I saw us fighting Emma. I think I saw this clip somewhere, and I was thinking like, how? Also, he was talking about the Shura ending. Wait, there are different endings. He said like they're going to look at the different endings, but we never looked at them. There was like the dragon going back to Korea. The Shura ending that we saw like for a second. The seppuku ending, and what was the other one? Like the one that we're having, that we had. So there are 4 endings. That's crazy. That's really crazy. I want to see them. I want to see how you do them actually. We got like the simplest one, literally the one that you can do by doing nothing. But I think we can get. I think I only know one way how to do it on my own, because yeah, I saw how you do the other ones with like the video, like I need to get the 2 hearts from the serpent. But no, I talk about like how what I could have get easily. I just had to like betray the master, like when All was asking me. I think something would happen there. Because I saw that Emma and Sekiro was fighting in that exact place where we and Owl fight Owl. So probably it was there, and then Emma was our last boss, and then it was going further on, I don't know. Genichiro number 100. Wow, that was great, that was really great. Maybe... After... I have to look if we can play Bloodborne, to be honest. I really have to look. It's pretty old. It's older than Sekiro, I think, and I have to look if the emulator is actually working. And I don't even know how it should work, because Sekiro costs money. How should I use money in an emulator? Is this then even legal? Do we have to care about it if it's legal? I don't know. Okay, but let's move to Dent. Wow. I love watching war, what the heck, lore, and watching videos with you guys. When you have anything that you want me to watch, you can always tell me that. Yeah. I'm not like the biggest like reaction VTuber on this world, but I still like it to see the things on this world. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much just for being here. I hope you have a great day, great times, and a great night, whatever you're having at your place right now. And remember, rule number 1: take care of yourself, okay? Bye bye. Oh, not bye bye. I want to say what we are doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to have our Fan Art Friday. And when a fan art is going to be there. And what else? Oh, we're going to play Minecraft tomorrow. Yeah, Minecraft. Watch Spider-Man. You're so unfunny. I'm not going to watch a movie on stream. I'm now going to go. Hey, watch Spider-Man. Oh, I'm such a big fan of Spider-Man. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm like Damon. Spider-Man. Miles Morales. I know it's actually good. But I don't watch movies. Do I look like I watch movies? Do I look like I use my precious time to watch movies? No. Time is money. Even without money. Okay. Bye bye.